Yeah, buddy. And I think we're live. Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you. Rich, good to see you. Appreciate you as always. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Had so much fun yesterday. Thought we would do this again today. Still waiting on Galen. Galen promised to show up. So hopefully he'll be here on time. Today we're going to be discussing what constitutes a masterpiece in perfumery. What involves, what does it take for you to consider a perfume a masterpiece? I think there's a lot of things actually going on. It's more than just the scent itself, but we'll wait for people to come on. Rich, you want to share your scent of the day in the comments? If you're in the comments, love seeing you guys in the comments. I've seen a lot of regulars like this video. It definitely helps. Yesterday we were up to what, 130 people, Rich? 133?
Yeah, it was up in the 130s, wasn't it?
Amazing. Yeah, and I noticed when we asked the people to like, it seemed like more people were coming on. So smashing that love button certainly works. And the more people that come on, I guess it's more entertaining for everybody. We all have more fun. So hit that like button. Let's see how many people we can get on today. Hopefully we can break 133. But I think we kind of got lucky with, it was a Saturday and the time zone connected. It was both North American, European, Asian time zones all aligned. So that might have worked in our favor.
Yeah.
But not to say it doesn't have to work today, but what's up? Okay, so we were bitching about the melon StreamYard. So I went out and got the what is it? The melon feed. So we're back to StreamYard, and now that I've paid for a subscription, it's changed a little bit. I've noticed, and I almost feel like I preferred, the cheaper version of
the free one.
Oh, there we go. What do you prefer here?
I'm easy either way.
So here's number 1. Here's number 2. Here's 3. And here's 4. Does it matter? Does anybody care?
Doesn't bust me. If you're going to have one comment at a time, though, you might as well do the big one.
Yeah, like that. I think you can only post one comment at a time.
Yeah. Like, I don't have a picture up, and it doesn't cover anything up, so there we are. Well, then, like, we're up to 46 already. I was just thinking about your numbers, like the number of people you get on the stream compared to the amount of people that like other people get. And it's like you've only got like just under, you're nearly at 9,000 subscribers, but you get like 130 odd people in. Whereas I was watching like a sci-fi channel today. It wasn't a sci-fi, it was like a science fact channel. And he's got 650,000 subscribers, and he only gets like 700, 800 people in.
Yeah.
So if you compare the numbers, you get like a really high rate of engagement.
Yeah, I do. I don't like comparing, but I've definitely noticed. I'm happy with. You know what? At the end of the day, I'm just happy to engage with other perfume lovers, and that's all that matters. And we were talking about this. Is people love to talk about perfume, and they have the same interests as us, and that's why we're all here.
That's right. That is right. It's always good to get like other people's opinions on things and stuff. That's what makes it interesting.
Rich, you want to give us your scent of the day? If you're in the comments, give us your scent of the day.
That's what makes it interesting. Oh, your YouTube's come on.
Yeah.
My scent of the day was Parfume de Parfum Oris Tattoo, one of my picks from last night. The fragrances for spring.
I'm very curious about that one.
Yeah, somebody said yesterday that it's all synthetic. So I don't, but the thing is that it's blended really well. So it feels like it's not. It feels really nice. It's very soapy. Reapplied it like 2 or 3 times. I don't mind reapplying. And I really enjoyed it. It's very linear. There's no development in it, like almost at all. In fact, I'll spray a bit now. Hold on.
You know, I'm not a fan of reapplying. When I wear perfume, I want to draw it out and enjoy it from start to finish, well into the dry down. And I think for me, reapplying kind of ruins it a little bit.
No, I know what you're saying. I don't usually reapply, but if a perfume's completely linear all the way through, then I don't see the harm in it, really.
Right.
I must admit, though, I don't usually reapply. I like the I like the draw out. I like to see what it does in the dry down, because that's where the magic is. The mid and the dry down. Oh, excuse me.
Your Mitza is a masterpiece. I guess we're all going to consider different things masterpieces. We all like and dislike different things. Just Rich and I will, disagree on perfumes. He'll love something that I might not necessarily, and vice versa. So,
yeah,
we'll all consider something different a masterpiece. But Rich has become kind of an influencer around here, and I'm wearing something based off of his recommendations, spring recommendations. And I went with Onson's Mythique because the weather here is very dark, gray, gloomy, sublime. It's just very moody, and this is what connected for me. And I find this a very moody perfume.
It's definitely moody. It's definitely. Hold on, I'll find my little ball.
I find like a lot of death and decay in this perfume, like a loss of life. There's some sorrowness and some grieving. It's like, the feeling of staring out the window on a rainy day, and you see raindrops on the window, and they're just falling down the window, and you're watching them, and you feel moody and hopeless and that sort of thing.
Yeah, like a November funeral.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where this takes me. The November Rain, right? The Guns N' Roses song. This is where it takes me.
Absolutely.
And wearing this, it's all ambergris. There's some rose in here that there is and isn't rose. It's not a dominant rose. It sometimes appears for me. I don't always get it. But it's like a work on ambergris, and this to me feels like I was telling you earlier, like a lot of the older Chanels. This smells more like an older Chanel than the modern Guerlain. This ambergris is kind of the heart of all the Chanel pastels, the florals, the waxy cosmetic florals that they use, which gives it that makeup-y vibe. Although it's probably a synthetic ambergris, but that's what.
So do you think that the ambergris in Onson's Mythique is synthetic?
I don't think so. I think it's.
I think it's real.
I think it's real.
Yeah.
It's very strong. It is very strong in some sense.
Yeah.
I think synthetics are great, but in order to build that accord, you got to use a lot of other materials. It's almost like building something out of Lego, and you might, when you end up using too much things, you end up losing focus. And that's what naturals do, is you use one natural and you can create something, and it's got much more depth. But when you're building that depth with a bunch of other things, you lose touch. And this to me feels like it doesn't have a whole lot of materials in it. It feels somewhat simple, although it's not a simple fragrance.
Yeah.
But this is This is something that I would consider a masterpiece because it moves me.
So we'll get into what qualifies
right. We'll get into that.
What qualifies something as a masterpiece. I think this is Vasa's best work for Girl On.
I would agree, although I think from this line, What a Mysterio is my favorite, and I would rank this at number 2. This would be my second favorite, even though this is just as good. But this, I find this much more unique than Buon Mysterio.
Yeah, I've never smelled anything like Onson's Mythique before. Absolutely, I can't think of anything. There might be like, there's a slightly salty vibe in L'air de Desert Marocain. That's got an ever so salty vibe, and I know he uses real ambergris.
This is extremely salty. Gonzalo, why do you say it's not natural ambergris? No, why? How do you know? Why do you say that?
Yeah, I would be extremely impressed if it wasn't, because it does smell natural. I'd be extremely impressed by Vasa or whoever made Onson's Mythique, because it smells really natural. It smells high quality ingredients. It smells different from when you compare it to something like L'Homme Ideal. It's hard to fathom the fact that the same perfumer worked on both.
Yeah, 2 completely different perfumes, but I don't doubt it's not a natural ambergris, because when Wasser was here in Toronto and I got to meet him, I asked him about the authenticity of the ambergris and Ambra Aeterna in this, and he said yes, for sure. It's like he claimed it's natural, and he whipped out his iPhone and he started scrolling, and he found pictures of the guy that sold it to him. Like, he traveled to New Zealand on the beach, and you can see he was holding it in his hands. It looked kind of like a brain, or the size of a brain, or small. Yeah.
The brains are gray as well.
Right. This is a very gray perfume.
It's the same. It's a very similar color to the bottle, isn't it? It's a gray with a blue, with a slightly brown sort of tinge about it as well, like a mauve more than a brown.
Yeah.
So it's very like for I don't want to say a one-dimensional perfume, but for a perfume that's so heavily centered on one note, it's extremely deep.
It's complex.
It's very complicated for a perfume that's only got that's so heavily centered on one note, which is one of the reasons I think it might be real ambergris as well.
It feels so thick and heavy and rich. It's dense, and the depth is, it's a soapy ambergris. It's aldehydic. It's got marine accords. Like, you can smell, because ambergris, it bobs up and down the ocean. It could be for decades before it lands it or finds its way on shore. So it picks up those qualities of the ocean.
It definitely smells like ocean water, like not putrid ocean water either, but like not fresh ocean water, but just the right ocean water. I think that's what the other ingredients, like the rose and I don't know if there's any incense in it.
There is
all the other notes.
I think there's a labdanum note in it, which if you're getting incense, that would be where it's coming from.
It's the dryness. It's very, because it's all as moistened and like reminds you of rain as much as it does. It's very, very dry as well.
It's got
so
an
complicated.
Yeah, I get that.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
But I also get, it's a very waxy and balmy and cosmetic-y, like warm, and there's some creaminess to it.
Yeah, it's got like a melted lipstick sort of vibe, like a smeared lipstick on oily skin sort of vibe.
Yeah,
like
I get that
like
pastelly accord, the makeup accord to it. Do you
yeah,
get
like
that
an
at all?
iris type of vibe. Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah. Like, but it's only just there. It's only as like it's only like it's because it feels like all the other notes are surrounding the ambergris. So if you imagine you've got the brain of ambergris, and then you've got like a rose around it, and then you've got a bit of iris around it, and you've got like the labdanum around it in very thin lines, but you've also got this huge hunk of brain material like right
Yeah,
in the center. It's
that's-
it's it's amazing how, and I'm so glad I discovered it. And the thing is that I really loved it, and then it grew on us as well. So
yeah.
it's like it hasn't stood still as a perfume on me. It's like this is something that like you can. It's like I really liked it at first, but then I've grown to love it. And I would really hate to be without this perfume. I've got 2 bottles by mistake. The spray I fucked on my first one, and I haven't thrown the bottle out. I've kept it because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sprayer off and decant it into like a just like a 125 ml bottle.
Right.
So because I don't want to lose it, and then I've got another bottle as well, and I might fuck it. I don't know, because I've heard rumors. I'm sure I heard a rumor yesterday that somebody was saying on here that this collection, I forget what this collection's called, but apparently this
Absolute
collection's
Orient.
been the Absolute Deodorant. Apparently it's been discontinued in September.
Come on, I haven't heard that.
I don't know. Somebody in the comments yesterday. Somebody in the comments yesterday said that.
Every week I hear a new
like,
discontinuation rumor from Galen.
I
don't believe it.
I would be gutted if they got rid of Onson's Mythique. I'd be terrified.
Well, you have 2 bottles. It's probably enough for the rest of your life.
I don't know. Do you know what it is? You would think that with all the other perfumes I've got, but I wear this quite a lot. This was the first perfume I've worn twice this year. And I've obviously worn it more than twice now. But like when you've got such a huge collection, I try to reach for different things before I go back to anything. But I wore this like twice in a week. It's like Galen with his Ambra Aeterna. Galen, I remember in January, Galen said to us, "Oh, I've worn Ambra Aeterna like 15 times in the last 3 weeks."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, exactly, yeah." That was my reaction to him. Wow. I was like, "Fuck, that's a lot." When you've got such a large collection, and then obviously that inspired his video that he did. His video that he did about Ambra Aeterna. He would consider that a masterpiece. I hope he shows up. I don't know if he will. But he obviously considers that a masterpiece. Yeah, he did earlier on. Like the stream. There are 67 people now. Like the stream. Hello. I'm here by myself. I don't know what's happening.
I should not be. I pressed the wrong button. I should not be allowed to run a stream. I was just going to check what's up with Galen, but
you can ask him. But I don't know if he'll come on.
Maybe he's out getting a haircut.
Maybe he's out buying a boat. We'll never know.
Who knows?
He needs a haircut more than he needs a boat. But you're allowed to have haircuts over there, aren't you?
Maybe he can get a haircut on his boat. You know,
maybe you can get a haircut on a boat.
I mean, this smells like old money. You know how we always talk about money? This smells like old world and money to me, like used money.
Yeah, like it's got like a skin, like a salty skin accord.
You're right. This might be Terry Wasser's masterpiece, even though I like wearing the experience of Bois Studio or Songe a little bit better. I think this, you know, if I were to step outside of my shoes and kind of look at them as objectively as I could, this would be his masterpiece. This is more unique than
it's certainly my favorite thing he's done at Galen. I don't know about what he did, because I know he made a couple of fragrances outside of Galen. In fact, he made a lot of fragrances outside of Galen.
I think I just found Galen's burner account.
Where is it? Galen actually keeping his word and showing up to a stream would make this stream a masterpiece. You should definitely, people in the chat who are unaware should definitely go and see that Ambra Aeterna video. It's beautiful. It's 3 minutes. Just shows that you don't need like a 25-minute video to do a proper like review. That review gives you a really good idea of what the perfume smells like, even though he barely describes.
That's right.
Like
it's got a
notes,
dose of ambergris. It's got a good dose of ambergris in it as well. Ambra Aeterna.
Yeah, Ambra Aeterna must have had Vasa must have had a shit ton of like ambergris, and he must have just thought,
yeah,
I'm going to start throwing it all over the place. This I would say this is his it is. I think it's a masterpiece, this personally, but I also think it's his best work with Guerlain.
I definitely agree on both accounts. What do you think about this, L'Homme Ideal?
L'Homme Ideal. I've got the Eau de Parfum. I think it's a decent signature line. If somebody's not that into perfume, I would rather pick up L'Homme Ideal and rather than over something like Sauvage or Dylan Blue or Club de Nuit Intense, man. Like go and get yourself something like that from Guerlain. It's Alex Chew's right. It's decent. It's good. It's
decent. Right. But as an enthusiast that's looking, to be moved, it's not going to do you a whole lot. I agree.
No,
it's
exactly
better
right.
than most things at the duty free.
Yeah.
But if you like the finer perfumes, it's like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah.
It'll do.
Yeah. It's for this generation, like the young men between 21 and 30. Like it's the type of thing that you would wear if you're looking for a girl. Not necessarily if you've got a girl. It's not the type of perfume that a man would wear. It's the type of perfume that a young man would wear.
Right.
Or somebody who feels like young, or somebody who's single. I don't think it's something that like you could necessarily keep a girl with, but you could certainly get a girl if you're into girls. Sorry?
Are you familiar with Une Rose by Frederick Mull?
Not as familiar as I should be, no.
I think it's a great perfume. Is it a masterpiece? I'm not sure. I mean, it's a very picture-perfect rose that's complex and deep and has a lot of transitions. It was actually my wedding day scent. Is it a masterpiece? I'm not sure if it is. I mean, there's so many roses that do that.
When was that? When you said it was your wedding day scent. When was that?
So that would have been 2013.
It's 2013, right? So how old were you?
I can't even remember, man.
Oh shit! Don't let her hear you say that.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm in the position I'm in, right? Yeah, if you asked me when Terry Wasser's birthday was, I could tell you, but I don't know. Like,
yeah, when you got married, yeah.
2014, October. I can't remember.
But how old were you though at the time?
I was
Can you remember that?
No, don't ask me. That's too complicated.
So were you in your 30s?
Yeah, so late 30s.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have worn something like Guerlain L'Homme. That's for the chat. L'Homme is for the chat. L'Homme for the chat. So you wouldn't have worn something like L'Homme because L'Homme is like it's got a time and a place, hasn't it? I think masterpieces, right,
transcend
that.
Yeah.
I think masterpieces like transcend that sort of age barrier. But I also think that like I'm getting it in the neck for Lahom now. I think masterpieces have like an ability to be worn by almost anybody, as long as it's over the age of like 21. Or it's like as long as you're not like a child, you know. Lahom.
I think as far as rose scents from Frederick Mull, if you're looking for a rose scent, I prefer Un Rose to Portrait of a Lady. If you specifically crave rose, if you want that picture perfect rose and the perfume to be all about rose, Un Rose ticks that box for me more than Portrait. You know, Portrait, so many other things going on. Un Rose is the petals and the stems and the leaves and the earth and the soil, and it's got greenness, and it's like take a snapshot of a rose, and that's what you smell when you wear Un Rose. Portrait of a Lady is much different. Portrait of a Lady is an abstract rose. It's rose oil. It's not as
rosy.
It's like looking at a painting on the wall and you see one thing and I see another thing. Could be two completely different things. Some people might get rose, some people might not.
Yeah. Portrait of a Lady for me is clove. It's big clove, and I really love it.
Rose patchouli, a lot of woods.
Yeah, I get clove. I get a lot of clove from it.
Absolutely.
The spice at the top's huge. I get a very medicinal vibe from it as well. I really like that. I think Portrait of a Lady could be considered a masterpiece because of the impact it's had. I think that's another thing that you could. That's something else that qualifies something as a masterpiece, like the impact, like something that transcends perfumery. Like the Mona Lisa. People say the Mona Lisa is a masterpiece, and Mona Lisa isn't even in the top 50 best paintings ever painted. As a painting, it's not that good. But as like a culture,
Are you confident?
Yeah, I am pretty fucking confident about the Mona Lisa not being in the top 50.
Final answer.
I'm pretty sure the Mona Lisa isn't in the top 50 paintings ever painted. It's not a critical success. It's a commercial. It's the thing is that it brought art out to people who aren't into art. That's its success. That's its true. That's the genius of it. The problem with masterpieces is it's so subjective.
Right.
What's a masterpiece to me isn't going to be a masterpiece to you, and what's a masterpiece to you isn't going to be a masterpiece to me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning of the video.
Yep.
So, because Aventus is going to remove some panties, a lot of bros will call it a masterpiece because, they think because they're getting laid or, it's not that the perfume is that good. You're just dealing with a disconnected woman that gives her vagina to every man. If she's giving it for perfume, what else is she going to give it to? For a stick of gum? Right?
Yes.
Here's some gum. Give me some vagina. But,
that's right. Yes, Christian de Helenu is right. It drops more boxers than it does panties. There's more men like it than women. I mean, don't get us wrong. Some women really like it, and it's. I mean, I've got it here, right? And that's Royalwood. Sorry.
I'm going to give out Galen's cell phone number. There's 86 people in the chat. I want you all to text them and get them to come on live.
Has he texted back and saying he doesn't want to come on?
No, he hasn't, but wouldn't that be something? He'd have to change his phone number.
No, I've got Aventus here, and I've never understood the whole thing about Aventus. It's hello, Rudy. How are you? It's Aventus is Aventus is good,
right?
but it's not. It's not. It's never. It's not even a great perfume. Never mind a masterpiece. This was me. If we could just establish the fact. If we could just establish the fact that Pierre Bourdon made Aventus, right? If you consider all the other,
why does that matter?
Well, what I was gonna, because I think provenance of a fragrance makes, I think provenance like where like the same reason that the painter who painted something makes a difference to if something's a masterpiece. I think people should get the credit. And these have got dubious provenance. Like Creed, I don't believe for a second that Irwin and Oliver Creed are perfumers. They're not. It's the same with Roger Bird. I don't believe Roger Bird. Roger Bird is just not a perfumer, and it's not fair on the people who actually make it. And that's why none of his stuff. I don't call anything he's.
I don't know if that has much to do with if something makes it a masterpiece or not. That's just up for debate. I'd like to know who created it, but is it the most important thing for me? No.
It is for me. I've got to admit, it's pretty important for me to know who made something before I call it a masterpiece. And I think that I think if people believe in, because if somebody won't believe in something that they've done themselves, right? Then why would I believe in it? But if somebody like Roger Bird's willing to take like credit for other people's work, which is what he does. When he says, I created this, it's a masterpiece. It's like, no, mate, somebody created it. You're selling as it. It would be a masterpiece if I fucking knew who made it.
Man, that's a marketing sales story behind the perfume. Yes. Do I want to know who made it? Yes. Is it an absolute must need to certify something as a masterpiece? Not so much.
See, I would say,
yeah, definitely. I would want to know, but we're not going to know with Rouge Dove.
No, you're right. We're not going to know with Rouge Dove.
Tom Ford doesn't list his perfumers a lot of the time. You got to dig. You really need to dig.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Whoever Tom Ford's perfumer is, I hope they're wrong. I hope they get a lot of money because they've made him a shit ton of money. Some of the perfumes they've came out, some of the stuff they've made for him is terrific. You look at some of the Tom Ford. Do you think the Tom Ford line's got more than one masterpiece in it?
If I had to pick one from Tom Ford, I would say Tuscan Leather.
Yeah, I was going to say Tuscan Leather as well.
Because it changed the landscape of leather perfumes. It is a reference textbook leather. It was the very first of that kind to do a leather and
in that way.
And when you wear it, you're reminded of, the story behind that perfume, a leather perfume, the interior of a car. Some say there's a cocaine note in there, but
it's got that astringent. It's got that really like heavy chemical. I get why people say that. It doesn't actually smell like cocaine, but it smells like something that like it gives off the vibe, like that. Like, have you ever seen those programs on like Discovery Channel and stuff where they take you into the Amazon jungle and show you how cocaine's made, like with like petrol and fucking all those chemicals that they use? That's what I get from Tuscan Leather. I get like that's the effect of Tuscan Leather I get, and I understand that. I understand why they say, but I totally agree with you about being Tuscan Leather being being a masterpiece.
Yeah,
Whoever created Tuscan leather should know that they've created a reference perfume.
right. Yeah,
And
absolutely. They definitely
they
deserve
credit
and should be recognized.
Yeah, I would
And
say that about
I think that would actually
Tuscan leather as
help.
well.
Yeah, it would actually help him get the credit. But I think Tuscan leather more so than Tobacco Vanille. Tobacco Vanille is a good fragrance, but I'm more comfortable with Tuscan leather. I think because it's not as sweet. I'm seeing other people here comment Oud Wood, Noir de Noir.
No,
I don't
not
think
for me.
not for
yeah,
me either. Especially
you've got to.
I wouldn't consider Oud Wood. It wouldn't even be like a thought for me to be a masterpiece. I think it's actually a very poor example of good perfume.
I would say Tuscan leather, but I don't think. I think when you this is another thing you've got to say about masterpieces as well. They've got to be exclusive. You can't just go around with finger guns and being like, that's a masterpiece, that's a masterpiece, that's a masterpiece, this is a masterpiece,
right.
This is a masterpiece. You've got to be really exclusive with it.
It loses its meaning eventually.
Spot on. You get like the, what do they call it, inflation. You get masterpiece inflation, basically, where if you start saying the word and using it too much, then it means less.
Then it means nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But I totally agree with you. So there's one we can agree on between, which is
okay. So
Tuscan
hang on.
leather.
Before we start naming perfumes as masterpiece or claiming them, what is it about a perfume? What does it do for you, or what do you want it to do before you would consider it a perfume? What are you looking for in order for it to be required or called a masterpiece? Let's get that out of the way. Does it just need to smell good to you? Does it need to get you?
Needs to smell? No. It doesn't need to smell good to us, man. It needs to be absolutely sensational. It needs to be. It needs to be more than brilliant.
I agree. It does not need to smell good.
It doesn't need to smell good. It needs to be. It needs that almost unquantifiable. That almost unquantifiable it, or the X factor. I didn't want to use that. Like, I didn't want to use the word X factor, but like, it's got to have that. Like, it's got to have that thing that you almost can't describe about something. That shows its brilliance, that shows its genius, that makes it different. That like, I mean, we are talking about perfume over a medium, like, where we have to discuss it, and at some point, like, what happens is you run out of words. Like, I can't describe this any further. I can't do it justice. I can't explain it. You just have to smell it and understand it. Yeah, you lose the ability to attach like feelings to words.
Right.
So
for me, a masterpiece, it has to move me. I think as humans, we are a part of nature just as anything else. We are nature's like most complex pieces of work. And there's times where I wear a perfume and it moves me emotionally. And emotion is really, it's a relived past experience. So this emotion, this perfume is recalling something that I've experienced in the past. So that's pretty powerful to me when I can feel something that I've experienced 10 years ago through the smell of a perfume. That is, for me, that's a great part of it, more than smelling good. If it can make me happy, sad, bring up old memories, recreate an event, an image, Not only that, but it needs to be really well balanced, calibrated. Doesn't need to be perfect technically, but it needs it. Like, let's take Santal 33. It moves me, but in a it brings out this hatred in me. That's still a feeling. That's an emotion, an anger, not hatred, maybe an anger. It makes me angry. That's a powerful emotion for a perfume to do that. But what bothers me about Santal 33 is the construction. It's rough. It's unfinished. And for that sense, I don't like it.
Right. So it's possible to appreciate something as a masterpiece, even though you don't like it. So I agree with that.
Absolutely.
But what I would say,
like, take Secretion's Magnifique. Is it a masterpiece? Yeah. I don't know, but people talk about it, and it's either love or hate. And I've heard artists say that before. When I create work, I want a profound response. Either I love it or I hate it, because that means it's moving people. If it's just like, it's okay, that means nothing. But hating something is calling up feelings for you. Hate is very powerful.
No, hate is very powerful. But I don't know necessarily that that's something that I hated. I don't know if I could ever call something that I hated like that a masterpiece, or whether I could. I've never even considered that before, to be honest with you. Whether I would think something. What do I hate? What perfume? Somebody tell us. Could I consider something with lemon in to be a masterpiece? Well, yes, I could, clearly, because
Le Lion. Do you hate Le Lion?
I don't hate Leon. I just think it's poor.
Come on.
I really don't like Le Lion. I really think it's actually. Do you know? I think Le Lion smells better out of the cap than it does on my skin. I don't think my skin does Le Lion any favors for my nose. When I smell Le Lion off my hand or on my skin, it's not there. And I don't think it ever will be. I'd be surprised if it ever was, because skin chemistry. But I can't. I can't hack it.
I remember working in a grocery store in my teens. I was in my teens, and I was stacking apples. So ironic. I was stacking apples when I hear click, 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 high heels. And I look up, and it's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. It was the summertime, and she was in this really beautiful dress, long hair. And I was like, oh my God, she looks amazing, and she smells amazing. Like, the whole store filled up with her perfume. I had no clue what it was. And it was probably 2 decades later, I went and I smelt Chanel Coco. And the moment I smelt it, I went back to stacking apples at the grocery store, and I remembered that woman. I was like, wow. So that triggered like this memory for me, a response. Does that constitute a masterpiece? I'm not sure just that itself, but
no, I don't think that constitutes a masterpiece. I think there's got to be an element of objectivity. I think it's got to be I think masterpiece. If you were to declare something a masterpiece, it has to like tread a fine line between. It has to tread a fine line between objectively pleasing and subjectively pleasing.
Right.
It's got to have a bit of both. It's got it, because I think what you'll find is if the history of the word masterpiece is like, because we're going to get into semantics. Do you know what I mean? We're going to get into like the meaning of words. and it's like, what defines a masterpiece and stuff like that. And it's like, I think technical skill. I also think technical skill, where you were talking about like, it doesn't have to be technically perfect. I don't think it has to be technically perfect, but it's got to be of a certain technical like ability. It can't just be like thrown together and people be like, oh, that's a masterpiece. I mean, that's half the problem with perfume nowadays anyway. Like the acceptance of poor perfume, poorly made perfume. I think there's got to be, I think for a masterpiece, it's got to be technically good, and it's got to be pleasing emotionally, and it's got to be pleasing like subjectively as well.
It's got to recall either an emotion for me or a very vivid memory. Like somebody's asking, what's Mull's masterpiece? For me, this is one of Mull's masterpieces, and this is very simple, en passant, and this does exactly what it says it does. It recreates the scent of lilac blowing in the wind. And when I go for a walk and I get that, you know, I've been hit with the scent of lilac a million times. And when I wear this, like I wore this the other day, and I remember going for walks with Maria and getting hit with that scent of lilac and saying to her, wait, I want to smell that again, you know, and I never can. It's like you get hit with the first whiff and that's it. You got to wait a while before you can capture that again. But for me, if I wear something and it can recreate a memory or take me to some place where I've been in real life, that is very that for me is, I would consider a masterpiece.
That's too subjective. To me, that's too personal. That's too.
Well, this is personal. You know, there are no rules to a masterpiece.
That's what I mean. Yeah, this is like part of it. That's part of the that's part of what this discussion's about. What are the guidelines? Are there any guidelines? Like, what to you is a masterpiece? To me, I would like, for me personally, I'm saying, I'm not, this isn't anything to do with you. I would like to have my own rules as to what I think.
I think you're allowed your own rules. Everybody's like we're saying, your masterpiece will be different than mine.
Yeah.
And that's because we all observe things differently. We've all we've experienced things differently. We see things differently.
Yeah.
This masterpiece, it's not scientific, or there's no math behind it.
No,
it's not
you're
like
absolutely spot on. Yeah,
all the time, and that's the beauty of it. We're talking about emotions here.
No, you're spot on.
You can't measure or gauge an emotion. We got the Hellcat in the house. 1 second.
Who's that?
Oh
my God.
I'm here.
I think I saw a ghost.
You totally exhausted me. Like I had to take a nap. I was so excited about coming online.
We thought you bailed, to be honest. I was about to give your phone number out to 100 people to start texting you. How angry would you have been then?
I actually would have felt popular, like
for once in your life.
I know. Usually it's just spam, you know, people trying to collect bills.
Mailman, your favorite person, eh?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, it's great having you here. Everybody in the chat, this is Galen from AETHEREALIST, a good friend of ours, and nice having you here.
Yeah, I'm glad that I finally made it.
Awesome.
That's right.
So we're just talking about masterpieces, and you know, Rich is being confrontational again, kind of not agreeing. Well, I mean, he doesn't have to agree. That's the beauty of this. Is we all have our own opinions, but we're just kind of discussing what constitutes a masterpiece, or what needs to be involved in the perfume to be considered great.
So I know I'm super late, but
better late than never.
Yeah. So
that's right.
One thing that came up for me,
just in general, what have you guys have you set any guidelines for what a masterpiece is?
Well,
that's what we're talking about.
Are there any guidelines? Are there any rules? Is there any math or science behind this? Which I don't think there is or should be, because we all experience things differently.
Sure. You know, I think when you brought this up on our WhatsApp story, I had thought, I wasn't entirely sure exactly what a masterpiece would constitute, but you know, there's certainly some like just cultural masterpieces, right? You know, it like in terms of like art or science or music. And then there's masterpieces that I would probably consider to be very personal to me. But, you know, at least like the cultural masterpieces, I would imagine things that are pretty universal, right? You know, they're entirely original. They've probably changed the way that people look at something. They stand the test of time. And I would think that people go out of their way to experience it in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
You know, I mean, are there any artistic masterpieces that you can think of, right, that you've experienced?
Well, Rich was just trashing the Mona Lisa.
Yeah. The Mona Lisa is not a masterpiece of painting.
I mean, I've only seen it once, and it's one of those things that you can't get within 100 yards of because there's thousands of people around.
Right.
But, you know, at least from an art perspective, I will say going to, you know, like the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., and seeing the one Leonardo da Vinci painting that they have, you know, you can just tell that is something special, right? And that's among thousands, tens of thousands of other paintings right in the place. So I would probably consider, consider it.
So the Mona Lisa, is it a masterpiece because it's that good, or is it a masterpiece because it's considered a masterpiece? You know, because of the hype behind it, there's how many years of people calling the Mona Lisa a masterpiece. What are people drawn to? The actual painting? And if the Mona Lisa was just created today, would it still be considered a masterpiece? Would anything change?
God, I don't know. Certainly from a technical standpoint, it's a pretty incredible piece of art. And there's quite a bit of soul in it as well. Whether or not it moves me, I think I've probably seen it so much that it's sort of passé by now.
Right.
I don't think when I've been to De Prado and I've seen Velázquez, and I think once you've seen like Velázquez, like Las Hilanderas, Las Meninas, I think it's very hard to call.
You know, I think the other thing too was, at least kind of thinking about masterpieces, is I think oftentimes we attribute them to one person, and maybe that it would be the one work from that person that's considered to be, right, like the pinnacle, right, like the ultimate work of art or expression that they have ever created.
Yeah, like can one person only have one masterpiece?
Well, and comparing, you know, an Andy Warhol with a, you know, Da Vinci it's a little tough, right? But I think a lot of people would probably consider certain works from Andy Warhol to be masterpieces.
Yeah.
So can an artist only have one masterpiece? I don't think so. I don't think we need to put any kind of rules on, like that's putting a rule or a gauge on something.
See,
you know, that would be
I think
Jacques Garlon can only have one masterpiece. How do you choose just one from many beautiful creations? Who gets to decide that? Is it
exactly
the society? Is it some kind of a panel?
Like, what qualifies as a masterpiece
I think
in
probably,
the wild?
I think Galen's cutting out. Galen, you're in and out.
I'll turn off some of my other stuff. Sorry.
It's that Portland Wi-Fi.
It's that
Actually, it is.
Wi-Fi.
It totally is. Okay, I'm here.
Hello. So I don't know. Like, this is like the terms of reference. We're trying to establish like terms of reference for what a masterpiece is, and it's difficult because it's like trying to get like three very different people to agree on anything. And this sort of like, it's like an analogy for the difficulties of what we're talking about. We're going to struggle to like agree about what a masterpiece is, and then but like, I think we might find it's easier to agree on what perfumes we agree are masterpieces than we are going to agree what a masterpiece is. Does that make sense?
I know what you're saying. Like, what you're saying is we're not going to be able to agree on the guidelines, and that's the thing. There shouldn't be any guidelines.
Yeah, it's just. I was just thinking that should be like because the thing is like, I didn't want to run around just pointing at perfumes and going, that's a masterpiece, that's a masterpiece. And maybe it's just we should feel that we should be able to justify what a masterpiece is.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know how often I've used the term masterpiece, but I'm going to guess that I've probably abused it. I've probably called way too many things masterpieces that, if actually I took the time to think about it, really aren't.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask both of you, what's the last perfume that's moved you in a way where you thought, I would consider this a masterpiece? And let's start with you, Duck.
Oh,
I give Galen some time to think about it. I'll put Duck on
the last perfume I've bought, or the last perfume that I've smelled.
Let's say the last perfume that you wore, and you found it a profound. It moved you in a way where you considered it masterfully done.
Oh God! So you've used the words "masterfully done," which implies technical ability.
Well, it doesn't need to be too complicated.
No. I'm not talking. It doesn't necessarily. People are already, like, somebody's already said, Loewe Pour Homme. Like, that's the last perfume that got me excited, but I don't know if I'd call it a masterpiece. I don't know that I would call that a masterpiece at all. The last perfume I wore that really God almighty, because I'm also sitting here looking at me spring and summer, and they're not my favorite perfumes. What should I? Ambra Sultan. I'll go back to one like an Old Faithful. This is like a reference perfume for me. Ambra Sultan, right?
Okay.
Is the perfume, is my gateway to niche perfume. It was the first Serge Lutens I ever smelled. It was the first niche perfume that I ever loved. But it was like, if you can imagine, do you remember Ren and Stimpy? Right? Ren and Stimpy, where Ren used to get really angry and you would hear like a really high-pitched noise, and that was all you could hear. It was like glass breaking, right? That's what like the first time I smelled Ambra Sultan was like. I was like, I didn't know perfume could do this. I didn't know perfume was like this. All I'd ever worn before that was like designers, and like, even though I wore like different designers from what everybody else was wearing, I never wore Acqua di Gio or anything like that. Even when I was younger. The first time I smelled Ambra Sultan, I was like, what the fucking hell's this? This is amazing. Shut up and take me money. And I bought a bottle, and I wore it, and I just wore it at the most obscene time. I had no right to wear it the days I was wearing it. But I couldn't stop smelling it. And it's still to this day, it's right there. right there. No, it's not. That's something else. It's right there, in fact. And every time I smell it, I'm taken back, and I can remember what I was wearing. I can remember the desk I was at. I can remember the salesperson. He was called Jonathan, and he had a bald head. And I remember what I was wearing. I remember the other 2 perfumes I bought when I bought it. And it was just like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. And to me, Ambra Sultan, that's not the last time a perfume ever did that to us, but it was the first time a perfume ever did that to us. And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, this is the reason I fell in love. This is the reason I'm talking to you now. And that's like the last perfume. That's not the last. It's the first perfume that ever did that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What if you've just smelled Ambre Sultan today for the first time, but you're already in, at this stage of your journey that you were in? Would you feel the same way about it?
Maybe not to that extent, because the novelty wouldn't be involved, but it would only be the novelty that had been taken away. The quality, the ingredients, the presentation, the feeling, like the way I feel it, it feels like it's perfect for me. This perfume feels it was like made for me. It's got that like beeline, like it's like a road straight to me, and it's not for anybody else. And other people can enjoy it, and other people can like sit there and say whatever they want about it and love or hate it, and it really doesn't make any difference whether they praise it or whether they knock it. I absolutely love it, and I always will. And it's that's like the closest thing I can attribute to like the things you say about perfumes and about the way they make you feel. This would be one of the perfumes, and this will be only one of a few. There wouldn't be I haven't got very many perfumes that do that to me.
Okay.
So it's very personal. And I would never have it I would never want to be without it. And it's one of those perfumes that I don't know if anybody else gets this, but I love it so much that I hardly ever wear it, because I'm fucking like, one, I don't want to run out of it, and 2, I don't want to have a shitty experience with it. I want to protect it. I love it, and that's like part of me collector vibe about it.
That sounds like an insecurity to me.
It's not. There. I suppose there is an insecurity aspect to it, but I would still like. It's not just that as well. It's the bottle that I've got. This is like the bottle I'm like holding in my hand is the actual bottle I bought that day. So even when I run out, even if like I don't know, I might just retire this bottle and wear like different bottles of it, and maybe then I would be happier to wear it. But that's the closest thing I can align with what you're saying about the way you feel about En Passant.
Okay. Let me ask you this both before Galen gives us his example of a masterpiece. Is time crucial to declare something a masterpiece? Like, does it need to be of a certain age to be considered a masterpiece? Can something be released today and be considered a masterpiece? Or how old does it need to be, and who decides the age of it? Does it need to be a historical reference like Shalimar?
I don't think it does. And the thing, I'll tell you why I think this. It's not perfume, but it's music. Do you remember The Bend by Radiohead? Right? That was declared a masterpiece the day it was brought out. The first time I think it was John Peel. It was somebody like that, just literally played the whole album and just said, right, that is their magnus opus. They'll never top it. And I don't think they ever have topped it. They've made other great albums, but that is like the album. And I think you can declare something a masterpiece, because if you're into something like perfume, you've already got reference. You've already got your bearings about you. You know what you're talking about to an extent. And when somebody brings something out, if somebody brought out a masterpiece in perfumery tomorrow and I smelled it, like, you would obviously like to buy yourself and give yourself time. And you would like to say, like, oh, like, you would like, but like, sometimes you can just smell it and just be like, fuck. Do you know? Like, and just be like, wow, that's absolutely, you know, quality when you see it. If you know what you're talking about, you know quality when you see it. I've spoken enough for the last 5 minutes, so I'll let you two speak for a while.
Yeah, I don't know if time is definitely, you know, a requirement. It doesn't need to be of a certain age. I think for me, it's more to do with how it moves me, how it makes me feel, either angry, happy, sad, mad. If it's got this profound emotional response from me, that is more meaningful than the age of the perfume itself. So I think for me, that's most important. Does it move me emotionally, and is it well crafted? Do I enjoy wearing it? Although it doesn't need to smell good, I don't need to love it. I think I can hate something and still consider it a masterpiece. Although I probably wouldn't have many examples of that.
Yeah.
Galen, what do you say?
No, that's fair. Now, I think when and Eugene, warn me if I'm cutting out. I'm hearing you guys cut out as well, so I may need to restart. You know, when I think about like masterpieces and the element of time, that kind of makes me think of like being a historian or being a real critic, which I don't really consider myself. I consider myself an enthusiast at best. You know, just a fellow nerd that loves talking about this kind of stuff and experiencing it. So I don't think I necessarily need time.
Right.
And for a lot of those real classics, I mean, obviously the context or the time in which they were released, I'll never get to experience anyways. So yeah, I would consider it to be fairly personal. This answer for me is not going to be particularly shocking, but man, Ambra Aeterna just completely takes me to another place. I mean, that is, at least for me, that is about as perfect in every way, shape, or form as a perfume gets for me. You know, it's one of those things it just tells a story, and it tells a story in a little bit of a different way. You know, it's a little quiet. It evolves on skin in a different way. It always has some interesting new subtle nuances. It's beautifully blended. You know, it's an experience. It like takes me out of my body.
Oh, wow.
Do you feel it helps you tell your story?
Maybe to an extent. I don't know.
Like it becomes part of you, and yeah.
Yes. If that's what you meant by that, 100%. Yeah, it's something that's I consider that to be part of me, without a doubt.
So you feel connected.
I feel that way about Ambra Sultan.
You know, and I love Ambra Sultan as well. And I think that kind of deconstructing just any fragrance, especially one that's as famous as that, kind of takes some of the masterpiece elements out of it, kind of makes it a little too academic, you know? And at least, you know, masterpieces that, I mean, just that I enjoy, I'm not sure I necessarily need everyone else to agree. I don't think that they necessarily need to be on everybody else's list.
So it doesn't need to be popular. It doesn't need to be a bestseller.
No, not necessarily, though. I do think that when you talk about, you know, some of the big trends in the last 20 years, you know, like Creed Aventus or Bleu de Chanel, right? Or, you know, some of these gourmands, you know, like probably like Baccarat Rouge 540. Those things certainly have sort of this, they've sort of captured the zeitgeist of a time and a place. And whether or not I actually like them, I think clearly they've risen above the milieu right? To kind of carve out their own special place in the world of perfume. Now, granted, a lot of it's probably driven by just simply marketing and sales and availability, but at some point, the sales and marketing has to stop, and people have to decide for themselves. And those are probably scents that we will continue to hear about for a very long time.
Right. So even though us enthusiasts might not consider much of Bleu or Sauvage, but let's say 50 years from now or 100 years from now, and they're, during the test of time, do you think they can reach that level? Like, they're not something that I would call masterpiece today.
Yeah.
But let's say the generation that's wearing them now and loving them, they're definitely feeling a connection with that. When we'll be long gone, will they be calling them masterpieces? And will they be reliving emotions and feelings and memories through those perfumes 50 years from now, 60? Same way we talk about.
I think that they probably will.
I agree with that very much so. Even though we don't consider them masterful today, with the test of time, if they're still around, they might be regarded to that esteem.
Do you think we've infuriated the duck so much that
I think he might have fell asleep.
He's given us
no,
the
I'm
silent
still here, don't worry. No, I'm just letting you talk. I talk too much, so I thought I'd let you just have a bit express.
Yeah, I guess when I also think about it, at least, a masterpiece doesn't have to be something that's wildly complicated and complex and use the very best, ingredients. In some ways, and maybe it's just a stroke of genius or just kind of a performance piece that ended up being really successful. But, someone could probably make the argument that something like, Molecule 01 is a masterpiece. Just simply taking a single molecule, bottling it, marketing it, and then probably selling millions of it. It's certainly brilliant.
Right. So just finding beauty in its simplicity can work for somebody.
There's genius in simplicity.
I don't disagree with that at all.
All the best inventions are simple, because all the best things you just think, well, I could have done that, but you didn't.
Right.
That's just totally. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I have a hard time imagining, maybe putting that label on something like Molecule 01.
Right, but you use that as a reference.
Yeah, and just like I probably wouldn't look at a lot of modern art as masterpieces, right? But there's certainly plenty of people, and plenty of money that could probably make a case that I am totally wrong.
Right. So what about something like Angel Men? Could that be considered a masterpiece?
Oh dear.
Love it or hate it, it is the first, and it's kind of revolutionized perfume.
Yeah.
It started. It was trends and
it had a stroke. There was a stroke. There was a stroke of genius about it. But whether that genius necessarily indicates a masterpiece is like a genius. I mean, if you look at any genius or who's someone like Einstein got shit wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're a genius that everything you do is genius. But okay. The cultural impact of Amen, we're still living, and it's the same with Chorus. I would say Chorus was a masterpiece, by the way, but that's going to come as no surprise to anyone.
very similar perfumes for what they did in their time and age. You know, smell
Yeah.
very different, but regardless.
Yeah. The thing is, right, if you look at go back to the music thing, if you look at Coldplay, right, Coldplay are dog shit. But the thing is that they've been the biggest band in the world for like 15 years. That's the problem. Many a critic. I read a critical review of one of their albums about 10 years ago. I can't remember which one it was, but I was just browsing. I was just perusing a newspaper, as they used to be called, newspapers, if you remember those things. And I came across this review, and the last line of the review summed it up beautifully. And it said, Coldplay want to be the best band in the world, but they'll have to settle for being the biggest. And I just remember that line, and I remember thinking to myself, that's absolutely spot on. You're not going to get, you rarely will you get like a house like Dior just banging out masterpieces over and over again. You're not going to get like bands like Coldplay like ever producing a masterpiece, frankly. But like, you know what I mean? You're not just going to get masterpieces on demand if it was that easy. If it was that easy, every fucker would be doing it.
What do you think about when the artist or the creator of the said masterpiece dies? Does that have any impact on the terminology? Because we've heard of, let's say, authors being unknown while they were writing, but the moment they die, you know, their work shoots up, or the same as painters.
Yeah, but there's a myth about Van Gogh. There's a myth about Van Gogh that he wasn't recognized in his lifetime. Towards the end of his life, his brother and a few other artists knew, including Gauguin. There's actually some evidence come out in the last couple of years that Gauguin recognized Van Gogh was great, but Gauguin was a terrible bastard anyway. So there's like the myth of the tortured artist. I'm not sure death, because in perfume circles, the biggest example of this would be Nombre Noir by Shiseido. Oh yeah. Nombre Noir's got an absolute cult following. It sells for like £3,000 for 15 mil. 15 ml can go for like £3,000. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So I think there's an element of that. I think that's just human nature, though.
So you think because something drives the price up, that would help consider a masterpiece, or is that more to do with popularity? Like, I don't think something that you consider masterpiece definitely needs to be popular. Like, the things that I consider a masterpiece aren't popular at all. Like, nobody talks about En Passant. It's on nobody's list, right? Doesn't get any. When people talk about Frederic Malle, nobody mentions En Passant. It's Musk Ravageur, Portrait of a Lady, The Moon, The Night, you know, blah, 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 blah.
No, so I totally agree. Would you
be popular? Like, let's look at what's popular today. Baccarat Rouge, Herod, Aventus, you know, probably some 1 or 2 or 3 Killians. You know, I would consider none of those masterpieces.
No, I wouldn't either.
I don't think a masterpiece necessarily needs to be popular.
2 minutes. I'm just popping to the toilet. Hold on.
Put us on mute, will ya?
All right.
So you talked about En Passant, right? As your choice. Did you have
a reference for me? And the reason being
did you have others?
Well, we talked about En Passant, and we kind of touched on Onson's Mythique. I love the way it's moody and it brings out these emotions in me. But En Passant for me is, I would consider a masterpiece because it's a reflection of nature and it does it perfectly. You know, it kind of recreates the scent of lilac blowing in the wind. and that's something that I've experienced before. So when I wear En Passant, I get vivid memories of those instances where I never ever would have remembered them otherwise. You know, the moments when I'm walking down the sidewalk with somebody and I say, "Whoa, hang on, like, do you smell that?" You know, obviously they're not smelling what I'm smelling, but I think it's really well made too, which helps in me considering it a masterpiece.
So I apologize if this is a question treading, territory you've already covered. But what about like Chanel No. 5, right? Especially given your background and your love for Chanel. Has
that would be more of a historical reference, and I love that just as well. Is that a masterpiece? Well, before I even got to know Chanel No. 5 personally, I've already knew it was a masterpiece. Now, would I have made the same claim to it without ever reading or hearing about it? I'm not sure. Do I enjoy wearing it? Yes, I love wearing Chanel No. 5. I love all of those ones that are coined masterpiece, like Sycamore or 22. I really enjoy them. The one masterpiece that I do not enjoy is Fracas, an old world tuberose, which is, on me, it smells plasticky and outdated, and it's a harsh chemical screeching mess. I think it's vile. I do not enjoy it at all. But I hate it more for its chemical component than the actual outdated smell. I can do with outdated. I can't do with chemicals.
Yeah. This actually kind of makes me wonder if, Eugene, do you think perfume brands today actually set out to create masterpieces?
No, I think they set out to make as much money as they possibly can. And
I agree.
And then they set out to move units instead of moving people and creating art.
Can you think of one or two brands that are actively seeking to create art?
Frederick Malle. Yeah. I'm sure there's more. I'm not saying he's the only one, but he's the one that I continually follow. And I think L'Artisan is a good one, or at least they used to. I haven't followed them lately. I think Serge Lutens used to be. The Chanel Les Exclusives still follow that path. Dior's lost it ages ago.
Yeah.
Outside of, let's say, niche brands, I'm not sure. Maybe they can help us in the comments. But yeah, like I'm seeing Papillon. I'm not familiar with them. They've been talking about Francesca Bianchi a lot in the comments in the last couple of streams. I'm not sure about that either. What do you feel?
I don't rate Bianchi very highly.
And I was wondering when someone would mention Areej Le Doré, and I think that might be, that kind of gets into a little bit more than just, sort of the masterpiece talk.
Artisanal, right?
Yeah. So, Rich, I had asked Eugene if he thought there were any brands that were actually seeking to create masterpieces today. And his answer was no.
I think if you go out to make a masterpiece, you won't make one. I think you need to go out and I think masterpieces, a lot of it isn't necessarily luck, but accident. I think masterpieces are a combination of things, but do they go out to make masterpieces? I think because if you try too hard, you'll fail. Because there's an element of luck to stuff like that. I'm looking here at like Fahrenheit, and how mad Fahrenheit is really as like a concept, as like as a perfume that people would want to wear. But I think there's an element of time and space. Like if you're in the right place at the right time, I would say contrary to what Eugene said, I think there's a lot of brands out there, little niche brands, little brands, and like a lot of like indie brands that constantly try to make masterpieces, and that's why they don't make them.
They're trying too hard.
Yeah, I would totally agree. At least some of the brands that do come to mind, and I see a little bit of talk in the comments about Areej Le Doré, and you know that they produce art, right? Whether you consider it to be good, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Actually, it's kind of hard to be indifferent to an Areej Le Doré, which I think is really cool. You know, they're like they're going for it, like they're 100% in. I mean, I have a few Areej Le Dorés. I've tried some others. There's very few that actually really strike a chord with me. They seem to be missing it by just a little bit. Nope. I don't consider it to be nearly as good as everybody else does. So
from what I understand, they use totally a high dose of naturals, but the perfumer doesn't have the training.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. That's exactly what I was just about to say. If they put his ingredients in someone else's hands.
Yeah, you know, and I'm a huge fan of like January Scent Project. I bought, what did I just recently bought? I bought a bottle of Una Tamam from Nishane, which was composed by Aventus. That thing is
composed by who?
Tell you what, it's a Miguel Matos composition, and it is batshit crazy. It is insane. Like, it's not a masterpiece, but it is an experience. Like, okay. And I have a huge respect for that. I really do. And I think that with at least in like, you know, independent, artisanal, niche, people that are kind of going for big stuff, trying new things, they probably have a whole lot better chance of, I suppose, making their name, right? Creating something that will last, you know, kind of, you know, well beyond their time, but they may not have gotten there just yet.
Yeah. I think what do I think? That's just slipped out my brain.
You roll the dice out there and try to do your own thing and stick in your own lane and have a vision. And when you're creating something, you have a focal point. And, you know, by the end of that, you try not to lose the focus of what you were trying to create. And if you start trying different things, you lose that vision.
I think there's a huge element of risk when it comes to masterpieces. I think never a masterpiece has been created without an element of risk. Maybe that's what I was trying to think of before when I said look. I think the element of taking risk with a masterpiece, and I'm thinking back about everything. Some people who do think, you know, like Galen was talking about, like perfumes being batshit. Like sometimes you've just got it. Like if you look at everything that came before Koros, and then you smell Koros, you're like, what the fuck was he thinking? Like, how the fuck have you got away with that? Right. But it struck a chord. It struck a chord. Some people are just ahead of the curve. It's that glimpse. It's that person who can just glimpse over the horizon. Like how, like, and it's maybe we're struggling to describe it because we aren't geniuses, or like at least not perfume geniuses.
The risk with that one is it was just so completely different than everything at the time. Even though he was using the same notes and materials, he's done it in a way where, you know, the texture of it felt different, the color of it felt different, the mood, just everything was completely different. When everybody was doing dark and black chypres, here comes along this soapy, clean, urinous Kuros, which was just like, you know, for me, it was like just kind of created so much friction against everything else. It went completely against the grain. You know, still the same genre and style of perfume, but felt so different. It's like
in the same way that Tuscan leather, was totally different as a leather.
Yeah, completely.
But it was the same as what other people were making. It was a leather, but it was just completely different. And I think that's one of the qualities that makes, because a painting, you can apply it to music and painting as well. Music is music. It's noise. Music is a noise, isn't it? But it's when people make the right noise that it's like, that's when you know that it's like a masterpiece. It's the same with painting. A painting's putting paint on a canvas. It's when somebody does it right, or when somebody does it a certain way, that's when it's a masterpiece.
Well,
and
I think they're all very similar to perfume, because we all experience them internally. When you wear perfume, you smell it and you experience it inside. And the same as music, you hear it, it's coming from far away, but you're experiencing it on the inside. And music can move you emotionally. Like, have you ever cried to a song? Has a song ever made you cry? Or
of course,
completely changed your mood? You're driving in a convertible and this Miley Cyrus song comes on and you start dancing in the car. All right, not necessarily Miley, but it changes you from just a neutral state of being to happy, right? It moves you emotionally. I'm not sure if art can do the same thing in that kind of effect, but some people find
yes, it can.
The same way.
Yeah, it can. Maybe just art's not your thing. Art can definitely. You get a lot of instances of people like in certain places, like breaking down and crying and like getting angry and getting like quite strong emotional responses. That happens actually quite a lot. Interesting how different things. Maybe you're just not a visual, like you're not affected as much visually as you are through your nose.
I don't know. I don't know if a painting could make me cry the way, let's say, a song. I think a song would be even more powerful than perfume. I don't know if I've ever cried to a perfume. I've definitely felt ups and downs, and I've had emotional, I don't know, movement. Maybe not as strong to a song.
I'm staring at Pavarotti. I'm staring at Pavarotti, but I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece. But it's a very good perfume. See, Pavarotti makes me feel like I love Pavarotti, and I love like how I got it and all that sort of thing. But is it a masterpiece? No.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how. Look, I enjoy this conversation, and I certainly would tune in if I wasn't a guest. I wonder how much this is going to actually affect what I choose to wear and hang up tonight, right? Or when I'm, getting ready tomorrow to walk out the door, right? Am I gonna go, I want to wear a masterpiece?
Right.
What I probably will do is, maybe I would hope that in some way, shape, or form, right, the things that I'm actually reaching for are, right, they speak to me personally, right? They move me, right? That there's some sort of emotional connection. And yeah, I suppose they would probably be masterpieces.
Right.
I think the challenge with us being so into fragrance, right, and perfume,
we're overthinking it.
Well, no. I think one of the challenges is that we're always seeking something new, right? And I've got boxes and boxes of shit here, right, that I never touch and I'll never touch again. And until I get rid of those things, right, and kind of pare stuff down to, I suppose the collection being a reflection of, right, how I want to feel, then I don't know. I'll probably just end up being, you know, just totally erratic, you know, all over the place. Probably still just sort of chasing down stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you choose your scent of the day, are you looking for something that you would consider a masterpiece or not? Does it matter to you at all? Like, does it need to have some kind of historical reference or move you in this bold way? Or just whatever?
No, it has to fit. It just has to be right, you know?
Mood.
Yeah. Just has to be right.
I'm the same way. I don't necessarily have to pick something that's 100 years old and considered a 5-star perfume. It's more of, you know, what do I feel today, not what were people talking about 100 years ago.
Yeah, I guarantee, right, the only person that cares is probably you.
Yeah. For me, last night was one of
throughout the day that,
sorry.
you know. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I very rarely, if ever, choose what I'm going to wear the night before. It's always when I open my bureau up and I look at what I've got and I just, something jumps out always. And I've never had like performance anxiety like that. I've always just, something's always just like reached out and said, this is what then that's what I'm going to wear today. Sometimes I'll like fanny about for like 5 minutes and just be like, oh, I might wear this, I might wear that. But it's usually within the first 10 seconds of opening the drawer that I know what I'm going to wear that day. And it's last night. Last night was one of the very few occasions when I went to bed knowing what I was going to wear. But I always check the weather, and I've only ever done it a couple of times where I've actually picked what I was going to wear. And yesterday was Parlemoir, the Parlemoir Oris tattoo. I just thought I'm going to wear that tomorrow as long as the weather isn't boiling hot. I'm going to wear Oris tattoo, and I did. And I just thought it was. Sometimes you can't talk yourself in and out, but it's very rare.
Can a clone be a masterpiece if it's 99% similar?
No, it fucking can't. There's your answer.
I agree, because I think the original idea from the creator is what makes it a masterpiece. And it's like calling Prince of the Mona Lisa a masterpiece. Well, no. That's, you know, that's somebody that just copied another person's work. It's the original idea, you know, where that inspiration came from. A clone and the original idea had two different inspirations. What is the clone's inspiration? To make money, to create something more affordable. You know, it doesn't have that profound moving emotion that the original creator felt or experienced.
Yeah.
So would anybody like to suggest?
Oh, I was going to say, the most obvious problem with clones is the fact that they're totally unoriginal, right? They're just stealing an idea from someone else. And, you know, but that concept of originality, I think, is probably important in any sort of masterpiece conversation, right? You know, great perfume, which probably means that any Rojas would not be, we would not be able to consider those to be masterpieces.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Okay.
I would say I totally agree. Plus, I don't think there's another point I made before you came on, Galen, was that I think that you need to know the provenance of a perfume to think that like, you know, it's a masterpiece. You need to know who made it. Because I think if you don't know who made it, then how could you possibly say it was a masterpiece?
Well,
how do you feel about that, Galen?
I don't know. Somebody actually I was talking to about just perfume creators, right? You know, sort of the person that creates it and then the item itself. I think you could separate them. I think a lot of the stuff that we talk about, there's sort of a cult of personality around it, you know, and
right. We like to collect as much information as we can about every perfume that we love.
Yeah, and then make judgments. I think in some ways, right, that we use that person's their personality or their you know, their place in the world, or you know, what they do for a living, or how they look, as another little piece of information to decide whether or not it's good. You know, when you see somebody like, you know, Roja Dove that's up on the 6th floor of Harrods, you know, covered in gold, it's kind of hard to not think, oh, right, that guy hangs out with the sort of people that I wish I was, you know, like there's so much aspirational, you know, about a lot of this stuff, right? I mean, it's selling fantasy. And it's hard to not get sucked into that kind of stuff.
No, I agree.
At least I think it is.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's hard. It's hard because we've got more insight. It's almost like don't meet your heroes. We've got more insight into like perfume than most people. If you were to go and ask the person in the street what's a masterpiece, like they would say the Mona Lisa, like you said. But if you were to then go up and take them onto the 6th floor of Harrods, and he's shitting gold everywhere and fucking talking with his affected accent, and he's wearing his outrageous shirts, then like they're obviously gonna start like questioning whether they think what they thought before. And it is the aspirational. You're right. There is an aspirational element to it. People want to feel better than they are, and a brand like Roger Bird, or a brand like Creed is offering people that, and people are going to be affected by that. So that it's tough, but I would have to say, between the three of us and the 100 people in the chat, for me to call a Roger a masterpiece when we know the fucking rip-offs, it's like I can't do it. I can't do it. I would say the original. I would say Mitsuko. Mitsuko was a masterpiece. I would say, but would I say something like Diaghilev was a masterpiece? No, because it's essentially what Eugene was saying about
the creativity, the originality.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Where did the idea come from? But I gotta say, like, I agree with all of that. But when I do wear Diaghilev, it moves me. You know, it moves. It has an emotion. I get response from it. It triggers something within me.
Do you think that? Do you not think that some of that's from the price point?
No, it's got nothing to do with the price point. It's
because you've got the
price it doesn't trigger my emotion. Like, this is the experience of wearing the perfume. I don't know. Like, now that question of a clone's come up, you know, can a clone move you? And how do you base your ideas off of a masterpiece, you know? And like I'm saying, a masterpiece should move me first and foremost, regardless of price. But that's interesting. I don't know. Like, if
I think there's an aspect of Veblen. I don't know if you know what Veblen goods are, but Veblen goods are those things that price really highly. And there's a phenomenon, like a human phenomenon, where if you price something really highly, if something's got a high price, people assume that it's good. It's like an automatic sort of human trigger. If something's priced really highly, then people are going to be like more easy. It's like the power of suggestion. people are going to be more easily moved to like spend more money if the price is higher. And it's like, I think there's a lot of that goes on in perfume. In fact, we know there's a lot of that goes on in perfume, where people price their stuff at a certain point just so they can say it's exclusive. Like Creed charge out rate. Creed's prices 10 years ago, the rate that they've increased over inflation is absolutely scandalous, and their perfumes have got worse. It's like Dior's prices have gone up, and their perfumes have got worse.
Right.
And it's to increase exclusivity.
And you know, Mitsuko was also said to be inspired by Coty Chypre, right?
Yeah. Coty Chypre, I would say that was a masterpiece. Simply because of the effect it had. I've never smelled it. I might be contradicting myself there, whether I should say that I don't know if I've said before in the stream that you should have smelled something to say whether you think it's a masterpiece or not.
Well, I agree. You can't call something a masterpiece if you don't know what it is or what it does.
Yeah, so I might be contradicting myself there and talking bollocks, but
I think
Chypre.
See, here's an instance of you being influenced into believing it's a masterpiece because you've probably heard it so many times.
Yeah,
and there's definitely that influence. You know, how many times have we heard Shalimar, number 5, Mitsuko, their masterpiece? Jiki is a masterpiece. Okay, it might be a masterpiece in society's eyes, but how do you feel about it? You know, do you get that connection?
No. With a lot of the old Guerlains, I don't.
You don't get that connection.
No. I prefer Cologne Royale to Cologne Imperial, sorry, to like Shalimar, Jiki. I'm not a huge fan of Shalimar. I think it's too thick. I'm not a huge vanilla fan. So like I don't get like I would like to like Mitsuko because of the story, but I don't.
The story's not even that great, I thought. It's just a love affair.
Like the stream. People have to like the stream.
Even with all that oak moss, there's no attachment?
No, not even that. Not even all that. Even with all that oak moss. That's not the oak moss that I know. I know, I've known greater oak moss. Maybe back in the day, the oak moss would have got to us better, but not the oak moss in that.
You know what I think is interesting about just perfume in general, compared to some of the other arts, is that, you know, one, perfume is, at least in the last, 120, 130 years, technology has evolved so much that it's actually affordable essentially to anyone, right? So anybody can have a piece of these creations, good, bad, or indifferent. But the other problem is that these formulas are always changing, right? They're ephemeral, right? They disappear. Ingredients are always shifting.
Right.
Sourcing
materials becomes a problem. Regulations become a problem.
And there's certainly no market, at least as of yet, that validates, I think, a lot of these things with, just basically, right, money, right? So at least nothing that we're aware of just yet, nothing that's like public. Maybe when you're talking about like masterpieces of like art, right, in like the 20th century, you've got people like, Roy Lichtenstein, who basically painted cartoons, right? And his canvases are selling for like $100 million,
Yeah.
There is no market for, like high-end, super rare perfumes, right? Or at least things that, at least allowing the market to dictate these things as masterpieces. Probably because in a lot of ways, and we're probably some of the few people that have ever talked about perfumes as masterpieces, most people look at them as, cosmetic goods, right? It's like,
something functional to smell good.
Sure.
Right.
Which we know is not the case. right? But
That's right.
Well,
That's
what
right.
we want to believe. I think
Yeah.
maybe we're just so much more distracted than most people that wear perfume.
yeah, it could be.
Here's a question, right? So I'd like to move the conversation on a little bit and start getting with to fire out what some of us consider masterpieces. You did note.
No, I was going to say someone did note in the chat that this was the longest you guys have ever stayed on a single topic.
I did catch that. Yeah.
All right, moving on.
No, no. I still want to talk about masterpieces, but I still want to ask what we would see if we could, because I don't know if you would agree with this, Galen, because me and Eugene agreed with it before you showed up. We thought that Tuscan leather. We agreed Tuscan leather was a modern masterpiece or a masterpiece. Would you agree with that?
I've only smelled Tuscan leather a few times. I've only worn it a few times.
No.
I don't have an opinion.
You don't, it's fine.
There's no right or wrong answer. It's not a trick question.
No, he's spot on. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because what I wanted to move it on to was like things that we could actual perfumes we could discuss as masterpieces. And I was going to say my next one would be Le Doré Américain. And I know Galen doesn't like that.
No, it's not that I don't. It's not that I dislike it. It just hasn't clicked yet.
Right.
Yeah, to the extent everybody else loves it.
Right. I think there's
what feels like
behind Le Doré Américain, and although I like it, it's not one that I would put the claim of masterpiece to either.
Well, tell us about it, Rich, or unless you've already done it.
I haven't already done. No, what I was going to say was Le Doré Américain. To me, I got a very similar. When I first smelled that, I remember where I was. I was sitting on my bed and I'd opened it and I got the presentation. I'd heard so much about it. Alex Chew's asking, are there any Tower masterpieces? I would say LDDM was his masterpiece. I don't think he's ever. I think he peaked early. That was his second ever fragrance, and it's been a bit of a nightmare for Tower. I like Tower, and I like the Tower art, as they call it. I've got 5. I've got another one coming in the next couple of days, which is Incense Rose, which I'm looking forward to. But I don't think he has ever reached the heights of LDDM before, and I don't think he ever will. For me, it's a huge masterpiece. It's one of the seminal perfumes of like the 2000s. It's up there with I'm struggling to think. I've had a brain fart. It's up there with like the best perfumes. I was going to say Rive Gauche Pour Homme, but I'm not sure Rive Gauche Pour Homme's a masterpiece personally. I think it's good, but I don't think Rive Gauche Pour Homme. I got it at a really good price thanks to Eugene and Samir, so thank you for that. But I don't think that's it. I don't think Rive Gauche Pour Homme's a masterpiece. I really like it, but I don't think it has that X factor. Like, I don't think it's, and I hate to use the words X factor because it's a fucking reality TV show, but I don't think it has it. Like, I don't think Rive Gauche has it, and I do think that LDDM does. I think that.
All right, what does Le Doré do for you?
I think it moves my frame of reference. I think that's something that a masterpiece does to people. It moves your frame of reference. It actually shifts. Your foundations.
How do you feel when you wear it?
I feel like I'm somewhere else.
Where? In the Moroccan desert?
Not necessarily the Moroccan desert, but I feel like I'm somewhere dry and warm. Which, if you knew where I lived, if you knew the fucking weather where I lived, then you would know how fucking valuable that is, because it is cold and wet, not warm and dry. So this is a perfume which literally feels as though it almost physically transports me somewhere else. See, that's another thing as well. Somebody said in the chat, I wouldn't wear LDDM, but I still think it's a masterpiece. And I get that. Like I get that with like certain, like number 5. I don't think I would ever wear number 5, but I still think it's a masterpiece. Like I smell that and I think, wow. Like I smell that and I think
number 5
because it's not me. It doesn't connect to me. It doesn't reach me at all. That perfume. I just don't feel it. I just like as something for me to wear. It's not necessarily that I've got something against it. If somebody else wants to wear it, that's fine. But it's not something I would like. I love. Like it's not even something I would consider wearing either. To be perfectly honest, it's got jasmine in it, hasn't it?
It's got a lot of florals, yes.
Yeah, it's a matter of taste that I wouldn't wear it. It's not necessarily a matter of it's a woman's perfume. It's more a matter of taste that I don't like. It is feminine, but at the same time, I wear some other feminine perfumes or unisex perfumes. I don't have many feminine perfumes actually. I've got a couple from Matriarch which are a little bit feminine, a couple of feminine leathers from them. But no, number 5, I couldn't wear number 5, but I do appreciate that it's a masterpiece. I appreciate it. But I think Le Desert Marocain, I think because as well with Le Desert Marocain, it's one of the first examples of an indie perfumer just coming in and just like and changing the whole aspect of perfume and the whole and being like an indie hit. You know, he was like one of the first people to do it. I can't think of any indie hits before LDDM.
And that was pre-internet, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
Before,
it was
Perfume got
it was before
the internet.
Yeah, it was 2005.
Right.
And it was his second.
I feel bad for it since then, or
he did try to recreate. He did Au Cours de Desert,
or not so much the scent, but recreate the same response from a perfume.
I think he tries to do that with every perfume. I think he goes for response, but I don't necessarily think he gets it every time. I smelled a bit of a dance the other day, and I was extremely underwhelmed. That said, I'm gonna have 5 towers soon. I'm literally waiting on my 5th one arriving tomorrow. I've got Lone Star Memories, LDDM, Au Cours de Desert, and Lonesome Rider, and I'll have Incense Rose tomorrow, and I might even get Incense Extreme.
You're on a roll.
So
I stopped now.
Well, I just didn't. Well, no. The thing is that I really like. I'm coming into incense a bit. I've never been massively into incense, but I'm coming into it a bit now. Onson's Mythique, even though it's not incense, it gives you that vibe. I'm sure they just put a bunch of names into a hat. Like they built all the perfumes in that line, put all the names into a hat, and just pulled the names out and ascribed the names to them perfumes, you know. Because Onson's Mythique's got nothing to do with incense. What's the other one? That's completely left field. Queer Incense. Queer Incense is a violet perfume.
There's no incense in Onson's Mythique, but you still think of incense.
Yes, no, you're spot on.
Do you think the creator has succeeded in capturing whatever it is he intended?
I think he's pulled it into the conversation. It feels like that's what it feels like to me. The name, if they'd called it Amber Mythique, but they already had Ambra Aeterna. It's Ambra Aeterna is like, I smelled Ambra Aeterna and I thought to myself, this is just very quiet. and it's not for me, this perfume.
There's nothing quiet about it, I found.
For me, it's very quiet. It's a grower. It's a grower. It's not one of these perfumes that makes a large stink. There's something else I found as well. If like smelling perfumes in a shop compared to smelling perfumes when you get outside, there's a fucking 100 miles of difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like, go on, Galen. Galen, are you going to speak?
Oh, sorry.
I thought you were going to say something there.
I was going to say, no, I was. No, you're talking about the Absolute d'Orient collection, right?
Yeah.
You know, the ones that I've smelled, and it's probably been, I don't know, 7 or 8 of them, they all seem to be like a stepwise progression, one from the other. Like that. And I imagine like the entire collection just in this circle, right? And that you could place each fragrance around that circle and follow it through, and that each one is connected to the next. There's just something that is, it's like this long story that's being told there. And I don't know when it's going to end, but all of those things are so oddly familiar, but not, which I think is really cool. There's something really cool and a little bit below. There's more to it than just an individual fragrance, which I think is, I love that collection.
Galen, your Wi-Fi is being defunded. I agree. There's definitely an aesthetic that runs through it, just like a lot of their lines. The art and materials have a familiarity. The aqua allegorias all feel similar, and as does this one. The Les Parisiennes, they feel, all similar to each other. So Guerlain has that going for them. They have their Guerlainade. They have several Guerlainades, so this just happens to be their Middle Eastern one.
I think there's like a thread that runs through them, like almost as if like they've used like one ingredient. They haven't used one ingredient in all of them, but it feels like there's like something that binds them all together. Mm-hmm. Galen's analogy of like a not a string, a circle is a good one. I would use it like a thread, and it's like this single thread or this single material runs through all of those perfumes. And it's weird because you think like if you take like Queer Intense and Onson's Mythique and you smell them and you think these two things are not, these are two divergent perfumes, but they're not. Like there's something there is something there, like almost like a color. It's like a mauve. Like that's what one of my friends always says, that she loves Onson's Mythique honors. She says it smells incredible. Every time she smells it, she loves it. And she always uses the word mauve, MAUVE, to describe it, like a color. And I don't necessarily get that, but I get that sort of feeling from the line. It feels as though they've all got a they've all got like a color. They've all got each color, but they've also got like an undertone to them. Like an undertone is like a color that runs through each. Yeah, there's an undertone in that line that connects them all. It might not even be the first undertone; it might be the second, but they're definitely related. It's like an extended family.
I think the connection with these is the heavy use of aroma chemicals, and they're all very dry, very woody, very smoky, spicy. Most are very leathery. I don't necessarily get one thing that connects them, except that they're all very powerful, and they all almost have the same feeling to them more than the smell or color. They all feel very bold,
Mm-hmm.
but well done. You know, there's a lot of synthetics in them, but they're all very well done.
Yeah. Excuse me.
The duck is tired.
I'm always tired. It's ridiculous. 1:30 in the morning. Yeah.
And you can't include that hour you lost. Not yet.
Oh,
anyway.
that's right. It's 12:30. It's actually 12:30. I should pull myself together. In fact, I will pull myself together. I'm trying to think if I was like to suggest another perfume I would consider
All right. What about
consider
Timbuktu? Isn't that another one that Mr. Torin gave 5 stars to? You know, since we're on the Torin.
Did he?
Did he not give Timbuktu 5 stars? I only say that because I have it here on my counter and I just noticed it.
Huh. I know he loves it.
I don't. I haven't smelled it, so I can't say. I wouldn't suggest it because of its impact. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a masterpiece. There's another way of looking at this conversation as well. If you were to get a list of perfumers, right, and then just start going through each perfumer and saying, right, they can only have one masterpiece, but it has to be their masterpiece. It doesn't necessarily have to be their biggest seller.
What you agree on, or what you think?
Yeah, what would you say?
All right, what would be Francois Demichet's masterpiece?
Oh, fuck off.
Why not? Does he not have a masterpiece?
Well, no, because not very good.
Well, that's not true.
Probably Leather Rude.
That's what I had in my mind.
It's probably the best thing he's ever going to create.
Now,
I can't say him.
Does a masterpiece need to be complex and heavy, or can it be something light and simple, like Lucky? No. Can Lucky be considered a masterpiece, even though it's a very simple lily of the valley soliflor? Doesn't progress, doesn't transition. It doesn't shape shift, but it is a very beautiful perfume. Doesn't strike me emotionally, but it has a lot of beauty to it. One that I enjoy. I love watching this perfume as I'm wearing it.
Oh, not necessarily. I don't know. I think there's genius in simplicity. Like I said before, if you can get a simple perfume that does it for you. Like about 10 years ago, people would have been saying Veta Vatonka was a masterpiece by Eleanor. But I think times change. I think people have moved past that as a perfume.
They've stopped talking about it, right?
Yeah, like, but if you go back and you watch the videos at the time, people were like, "This is an amazing fragrance. This is one of the best fragrances I've ever smelled. This is like JCE's greatest perfume ever." And I just remember smelling it and just thinking, rubbish. Not necessarily the perfume, the hype around it. It's still a good perfume.
I don't think it's a rubbish perfume. It's not his masterpiece. Not even his masterpiece from that line.
No, I would agree. I just think there's a lot of hype around masterpieces as well. Masterpieces, like, it's one of those like catch-all words. People are like, this is another thing that like leads on to what Galen was saying about how perfumes are so like widely available and how everybody can get a piece of them. Does that dilute some of its greatness in a lot of ways? Like, would you be like more inclined to sit and say something that was less available to like less people would be more because it was more exclusive? Because there's only one Mona Lisa and the prints of it. Because we're getting into hipster. I'm getting into hipster territory here. Like the snobbery aspect of it. I've got something you haven't got.
Well, that just means more people can enjoy it because it's exclusive. Does that have an effect on the status of I don't know. It shouldn't. I don't think it should.
So here's it. So just leading on from that, right? If it doesn't have an effect on the stat, would you say Fahrenheit was a masterpiece?
Okay, very good question. For me personally, I might get knocked for this, but it's not one that I wear very often because I don't enjoy it in that kind of a way. I don't think, for me, it's not a masterpiece. No. I love what it's trying to do, but when I feel it and its construction, I'm not crazy about it. I love, the whole gasoline, the oil, the leather vibe, but there's something about the balsams in it for me are way too sweet and they bother me.
I don't wear it very often either, but I think from a artistic and a commercial standpoint, like that is a milestone.
Yeah.
And it could probably be slotted into, anybody's category of what a masterpiece would look like.
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah. If somebody wants to call it a master, I'm not going to disagree with them, but I'm not going to say it myself. Like, I have tremendous respect for it, and I love that people love it, and I love what it's trying to do, but it's not one that I personally enjoy wearing, and it's probably why I've never really even spoke about it.
There's certainly, I think, probably a man of a certain age, probably late 40s, 50s, that are absolutely committed to Fahrenheit. The fact that I can still buy a bottle of Fahrenheit retail in downtown Portland is a miracle, because they sell nothing here, nothing. But they have Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever smelled a vintage of Fahrenheit? Like an original?
Yeah, I've got a vintage.
I've only smelled it. It was Christo's bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's absolutely sensational.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this, though. I used to work with a guy, and he was much older than me, and he wore the same perfume every single day. And I was like, man, the guy smells damn good, like really effing good. And I bet you it's probably a $15 or $20 perfume. And then there was days I was like, damn, that guy smells so good. Like, he smells better than the $500 perfume that I'm wearing. Like, and I'm not even joking. I'm like, I'd be fucking embarrassed to ask him what he's wearing, and he's going to tell me it's like a Zara or a Banana Republic perfume. So, like, years went by, and one day I stopped him, and I was like, dude, you got to tell me. He was this old Polish man, barely even spoke English. I was like, you got to tell me, what perfume are you wearing? And he's like, Fahrenheit. And I was like, what? Like, I own Fahrenheit and it smells nothing like that. He goes, no, it's Fahrenheit. He's like, swore up and down it's Fahrenheit. I was like, please do me a favor. Bring your bottle of Fahrenheit to work tomorrow. And he did. And it was vintage Fahrenheit.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay. It fucking makes sense because, in his perfume, I can smell the depth and the complexities and the quality. And I was kind of like, there's no way this guy is investing money in perfume because he didn't seem the type or he wasn't into fragrance. He just wore the same fragrance that his wife bought him in Poland every single day. I was literally like, wow, I'm impressed,
So, are you saying there's vintage bottles of Fahrenheit in Poland?
Dude, he says they're easy to find. Yeah, he says he can't find the same ones here, but he goes back home and they're like on every shelf in every store.
Outrageous!
Yeah,
get myself over to Poland. It's beautiful. It's honestly the vintage Fahrenheit. It's so oily, like. I put it on, and then I was like, fuck! I've spilled oil, like diesel on myself or something. I was like, what the fucking hell's going on? It's so outrageous. Outrageous is a good word for it because where the hell did that come from? Like, whose idea was it to make yourself smell like an oil slick?
Yeah, exactly.
It's but it works beautifully. How did they come up with it?
Do you think that was the vision the perfumer had, or did he even notice that it had a gasoline vibe, or did that just kind of come about in discussions afterward? Because, you can smell a perfume and wear it and really think you know it, but not until somebody says, oh, it smells like this, and it kind of turns on a light bulb for you. You're like, oh yeah, I never even looked at it like from that angle. So do you think like that gasoline thing is what they were going for, or that just kind
do you think he was just fannying about with Violet Leaf?
Yeah.
And one day he thought to himself, I'm just going to push this as far as I can and see what happens.
Well, apparently that they were down to 2 perfumes, right? For Fahrenheit, it was the one that they chose, right? The Michel Almerac. And then the Jean-Claude Elena's Au Parfumé Eau Verte, or was the backup, the second choice was going to be Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I heard that.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not similar at all. Right? So maybe their proposal process was far looser and far more creative, 25 years ago.
Yeah, I think everything is very much everything, like as far as creative process. That's a really good point as far as masterpieces and like the whole discussion we're having about perfume. I think creative process has been like not neutered, but how do I want to put it?
It's become bland.
No, it's become like it's the difference between free range and fucking caged hen's eggs. Like you'll still get an egg, but like it's not going to be as good. It's not going to be
their factory eggs.
It's like a factory egg. You're going to get a factory egg, and it's like that's what we're being subjected to. We're being subjected to fucking rotten factory eggs.
Right.
Fucking rotten. I think some of the shit that Dior's putting out now is shit. Like they should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, yeah, it's like let's create something that's going to sell. Well, what sells? Sweet, sugary, buttery, creamy, caramel, toffee, coffee, tobacco by the fireplace. Anything that smells like tobacco vanille or one of those replicas.
Yeah. It's I'm not a huge fan of tobacco vanille either. We were discussing Tom Ford before. I think
it's a solid perfume, and I think
I'm not a massive fan.
Time it's going to become even more. It's going to become one of the greats. I think with time.
Really,
I'm not obsessed with it by any means either.
Yeah. It's not for me. I was never tempted to buy it. I was never ever tempted to buy it. Even back in the day, my favorite from the private line, apart from Tuscan leather, is Tobacco Oud. Tobacco Oud is for me. It's a sensational. That's something I would wear because I know I know what we're talking about doing a video on signature scents and like recommending people different scents to wear as signature scents, but to me that's the closest thing I've got to a signature scent in the autumn and the winter. I wear that shit weekly.
That's crazy that you wear that for a signature.
Yeah. Oh, it's sensational. I absolutely fucking love it. Like a dank tobacco-y amber. It's fantastic. What were we talking about? Oh, that's right. Galen, I want to ask you something. Do you remember back in January sending us a message in WhatsApp saying that you'd worn Ambra Aeterna like 15 days out of like 21?
Me? Oh, yeah.
Or something else. Yeah. Like when you were testing it out in January, you were like, yeah, I'm wearing this all the time and I can't stop.
I have a friend who's like getting rid of 100 bottles. And I had said to him, I may need if you have your bottle of that still, I may buy a backup of it simply because it's lighter than all of the other ones that I have.
Fuck.
But yeah, I've been hammering that pretty well. Yeah. Only of that.
Yes. Yes. It's I bought backups of a lot of things, I've got to be honest with you. Not pointless shit though, just shit that I love. But
I don't need backups of anything. Like I'm feeling really inspired recently to just get rid of the stuff that's not delighting me. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece, right? But I certainly have to want to wear it, you know, and there's just too much stuff on the shelf that's taking up space, taking up psychic energy. I'll be better off without it.
Like feeling ideal. Is it taking up your energy? Is it sapping you?
I'm ready to get rid of it. I'm ready to get rid of it. That and what else? What else did I promise him, Eugene?
Oh, Roadster.
I'll give you Roadster.
You know, I think when Fianagi came out, it was considered
all of it's for local pickup.
Great at what it does.
Yes, that's right.
But since then, I think a lot of incense perfumes have come out that have surpassed it. At least for me.
It's a pine for me. It's a pine sap, ambery, crazy beast for me.
Sweet balsams. Those sweet balsams get me. I can't deal with them when they're too sweet.
Yeah.
It is.
I only want the one Galen. I only want the one Galen's got because it's in that presentation. And they're impossible to find.
It's the same balsams in Fianagi, the same sweet balsams that bother me that I find in Fahrenheit. Does anyone get that?
No, I'll tell you. I find Bowmakers by DS and Dirge are a little bit similar. Not at the top, but nearer the bottom. I've been trying to get into that. I've got a couple of DS and Durga, and I just don't get it. They get a lot of hype them, but I'm yet to find a DS and Durga that's made us think I want to buy a whole bottle of it. Yeah, that's right. Actually, Zhao said the other day that Loewe #7. I need to write that down.
Bradley, send it to me, and I'll make sure Rich gets it.
Who's that? Bradley. Oh, it's full 100 ml Roadster. It's a ship to the US to the UK. I got a backup. I've got a backup, lads.
We should have everyone send bottles of Roadster to Rich. He's got like 400.
You can make an assembly line of Roadster.
That's right. It is really nice. I think that's another. We were talking about it last night. I think that's a really easy casual wear. That's just something, and it's different. It's a little bit different. It's cheap enough that you can just hoy it on. That's something I would suggest to like the bros if they wanted to smell different but still nice.
Yeah, I like Roadster too, and I listened to the stream from yesterday, and I totally agree with you, Rich, about it being almost sort of aquatic, oceanic, right? A little bit kind of like green blue, but not typical. Yeah. But I totally agree with kind of your take on it.
Yeah, I love it. It's a lovely. Well, I say I love it. I mean, don't get. I see it for its limitations, but I love it for its limitations as well. I love now that I've got a backup of it. That I can just throw it on now with reckless abandon. And it's the type of smell that I wouldn't mind if people like associated it with me. The bergamot in this, I used to think it was green apple. I always get like, do you know the first bite from a really green apple? I always get that from it. But it's not a master. But to suggest Roadster would be a masterpiece would be just a fucking slap in the face, because it's not a masterpiece. But it's a great little perfume. Like it's so much better than like shit like Dylan Blue and Sauvage and all this other crap that comes out, and I just look at it and I've got do you know, it's like one that we're doing another stream based on this perfumes that aren't very good, but I've got a soft spot for. Do you know what I mean?
That'd be a good idea.
Everybody's got
shit perfumes.
Yeah, shit perfumes that I love. Like Roadster's not going to change anyone's life, but it's like I really like it. There's another perfume as well. Do you have any? Do you have any L'Occitane? Do you have any L'Occitane over there? Oh, L'Occitane's a beautiful house. Did you ever get the chance to try? You've got it?
Oh, they have them here in the US, but yeah, I don't own any.
Oh, I've got about 2 or 3. I'm smelling the Eau de L'Occitane at the minute. It's a spicy lavender. It's really interesting. The performance on them is fucking woeful. That's another like generic bland perfume that like I would suggest to people, like lads, to wear if they wanted to smell different but still good and nice and acceptable. It's not overly challenging. That's what I like about Roadster as well. It's like it's really nice. It's a little bit sweet as well, but a little bit fresh, and it's I've gone on a massive rant about Roadster.
Yeah. We know how you feel about Roadster.
I'd find it hard to consider anything a masterpiece with green apple in it. It's such a turnoff.
It hasn't got green apple. It's just the bergamot and the mint conspire to smell like green apple.
I've always found apple perfumes to be overly synthetic because you really got.
What about Promise?
Oh, it's definitely. I don't like the apple in Promise either. No.
Really?
It's my least favorite part of Promise.
You know, Creed Vetiver Geranium. Vetiver Geranium has a bit of an apple note in it, and it's very subtle. It's done very well, but it's hidden way below. I can't think of any other fragrances with apple notes in it that I can even tolerate.
I don't mind pear or currant or peach, but apple I can't do. It's just got a very high pitched squeal to it. Actually, I like pear and peach. I like the contrast it has. It has a sparkling. Sometimes it's even sugary. I don't mind that. But apple is like a deal breaker for me almost.
Wow. Loewe. Tremaine Wilson is saying Loewe. If you can get your hands, Tremaine, if you can get your hands on Loewe Pour Homme or Para Hombre, then you will be in love. This stuff is the only lemon I ever loved. I love this.
Now he's being selective.
What were you going to say, Galen?
I was going to say that I think I'm going to jump off, guys. You've had to deal with my terrible internet connection long enough.
It is a terrible internet connection, but we love having you on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth the trade-off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Anytime. You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate hearing what you have to say and your contribution to our masterpiece video.
Next time I won't take a nap when you start up. I'll be here on time.
No worries. I'm never really on time or organized in that sense. So Mitch is always like, all right, when are we streaming? I'm like, I don't know. It's like 15 minutes before I stream. That's when I know, you know. It's not like I can schedule a stream and it's going to be tomorrow at 7 o'clock and me hold to that. That's never going to happen. It's always like, just be expect a surprise.
Just be ready.
Because
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Galen.
Cheers. See you later.
See ya.
Now there was us.
All right, maybe
like the stream.
Yeah. Like the stream. If you've enjoyed yourself, if you enjoy the conversation, you're having fun, like the stream. Maybe we should cut it too, because I know we're just going to end up being here for hours and hours and hours. And I've got more.
Well, I mean, we've already. I remember when you came on before, you were like, "Oh, well, let's not do 4 hours," but we've managed to get to 2.5.
Right, which is still quite a wild first stream. But before we go,
loss of effort.
Everybody in the comments, drop your one favorite masterpiece. It doesn't even have to be favorite, but just what you consider a masterpiece. Duck, Give us one more masterpiece. You don't have to go in depth or detail. Give us one more. Or is it too hard? It's hard to associate or attach too many masterpiece terms to perfumes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really difficult. I would go with. Here's one we haven't mentioned, right? But I would go with Quai de Russie.
All right. Yeah, that's
Quai de Russie simply because of the huge cultural. I mean, it's a lovely perfume. It's a great perfume. It's a fantastic perfume, but the cultural impact,
the reference,
like,
right? Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely huge.
I agree. 100%.
Absolutely huge.
All right, and as the comments are coming in, I'm going to read them off, and you and me are both going to agree or disagree, and then we'll end it after this. So if you have a masterpiece in mind, drop it in the comments, and we'll take turns agreeing or disagreeing. So Dior Mitza. No. I agree. Guerlain Vetiver.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. Shalimar.
No.
Yes. Coromandel.
No.
I'm going to say no as well. Green Irish Tweed.
Yes. Just.
I'm going to pass. Zeno.
Zeno, no.
I don't know Zeno enough to rate it. Escada Cat. I'm going to guess that's a joke. Polo Green. Oh, wow.
Oh, God. No.
I'm going to say yes.
Oh, shit. See, I would say a lot of people would say that me and you would give different answers there.
Angelique Noir.
Angelique, never smelled it.
No, I'm going to say no. I haven't smelt Ganymede. I can't answer this. I can't answer this either.
Never heard.
Tonka Imperial. No. I'm going to agree with this. Un Jardin sur le Nil.
No, it's not a masterpiece. It's a lovely perfume.
Yeah,
but it's not a masterpiece.
Right.
I really like Sur le Nil. Vintage Polo. And
I'm going to say yes to both of these.
No, I'll say no to both of them. I had been considering Vintage Egoist, not just Vintage Egoist, but Egoist. But no, I don't think Egoist's a masterpiece.
Envy.
Nope.
I'm not familiar enough. Timbuktu.
Never. Haven't smelled it yet. It's coming tomorrow, I think.
Really?
I think, yeah, I've got it coming off. Greggy sent us a couple of samples of it.
Portrait of a Lady.
Ooh, no.
I think I gave this 5 stars in my review. I'm going to have to stick to that.
I agree. It's a beautiful perfume and I love it. I really, really love it. But it's not a masterpiece. Jubilation 25. Oh my God in heaven. Yes. I think that's Duchauffour's best perfume. And I doubt he'd top it.
I don't know if I would call it a masterpiece. Dior Homme, I would say yes. Pardon.
No.
I don't know it enough. M7. Oh
my God in heaven. Maybe.
No.
I would say no, but only just.
Knowing.
Never heard of it.
Knowing is the Rose Chypre, I believe. If that's the one I have in mind, I would say no. Frappin Luministe. I don't know.
But I'll say 1270 is an absolutely amazing perfume.
What's up, Brad?
I don't think it's a masterpiece, but hello, Brad. Brad's an OG. Brad's a proper legend.
I think Brad's 10 fragrances for masturbating was a masterpiece video in Fragcom if there ever was one. Go check it out. It's called top 10 fragrances for masturbating. Sycamore. Yes.
No.
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 Okay.
Not even close. No, not for me. Monsieur, yes. Paul Monsieur, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though I don't like the EDT.
Nahima.
Nahima, I've never smelled it.
I would say yes to Nahima. Guerlain Heritage.
No.
I would say yes. Number 18. I'm going to say yes.
No. Not for me.
Musc Ravageur. I'm going to say no. Your own Parfum.
Nope. Nope. Not for me.
Or the original.
The original is a masterpiece, and the 2005 version's a masterpiece. Not none of the others.
I don't know this.
No, I don't know that either.
Angel. I would say for its significance, yeah.
Yes, you're probably. Yeah, I would say yeah. You're probably right. Yeah, that's a good shout.
And I disagree with this comment strongly. Is they've got
That's an outrageous thing to say.
To do with each other. Brute.
Oh shit. It's up there, isn't it? It's in the conversation, but I'm not sure I would say it was a masterpiece. But it's a it's massive.
I'd like to spend some time with that.
Yeah.
Polo green. Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure
why. What? Like the stream.
I lost my.
There's only 92. It's only 92 likes. Like the stream, get to 100. If you haven't liked the stream, like the stream. It's not for me. It's for you.
Fun, enjoying yourself, and want us back tomorrow. Like the stream.
Oh my God, he said it now.
Tuscany. I don't know Tuscany enough.
No, I don't think that's enough. It's a really good perfume, but I don't think it's a masterpiece.
Okay, original musk. I don't know. I think Musc Ravageur. I love Musc Ravageur. I don't know if it's enough to be considered a masterpiece. I'm going to say no still. Number 19.
No. Nope.
I'm going to say yes. Casual Friday. I don't even know what that is. Never tried it. I've never heard of it.
That's Duncan. He loves Casual Friday.
I'm going to say no to both of these.
No to both of them. No to both of them. Yeah.
This keeps coming up. Yeah,
it's Polo Green. I appreciate it for its significance, but I still don't think it's a masterpiece.
I think this was an inspiration for this Epic Man.
Yeah,
Green Polo and Epic Man. I've always kind of felt une rose. Damn, it's a beautiful rose. It's close to Cartier Pasha.
The ADT?
Yeah.
Oh, no, but it is a brilliant perfume.
If you ask me about Santos, I would say yes. Timbuktu.
Santos. Timbuktu. No, I can't say. I'm smelling it tomorrow. You've got 100 likes. Well done.
Are we at 100?
You're at 100.
100. We got 100. Let's see if we get more likes than viewers. We only need two more. Lure Blue. For me, it's 1,000,000% yes. Like 1,000,000.
I'm not so sure. I would say no.
What? Heritage. Yes. I said yes to Heritage.
I said no to Heritage as well. I said yes to. I said.
Mine is a very strong yes to Heritage.
See, I don't. I think I'm pretty picky with me Guerlains.
I can't.
Feminine Dubois.
Can.
Yeah. Is it a masterpiece? Ooh. Yes. Yes, it could. As a piece of perfumery by Sheldrake for that 90s run, the ones he released in the 90s for Serge Luton, they were pretty unstoppable. He produced banger after banger after banger. I love Amouage. I don't know how Jubilation is a masterpiece. I think it's Duchefaux's best perfume personally, but you know, that's why I said I thought it was a masterpiece.
Patchouli Poppy, love that name. Great name. Great avatar. Santal 33.
No.
What about
I'm not having any Le Labo as a masterpiece
years from now?
Here.
I love that. I hate it. Let's put it that way. And I do have an attachment to Santal 33 because it evokes a very strong, almost a visceral reaction. It's probably not as bad as I claim it to be, but I'm going to say no. Could you please recommend an accurate?
Could you please recommend an accurate?
An accurate dupe. Well, something maybe like Samajest La Rose from Serge Lutens, or
I've got a bottle of that. It's beautiful.
Think like a wet, dewy rose, but Un Rose is very dark. It's gothic. I don't know if there's anything.
Just save your money up. Just Joe Farr. Just save your money up. Yeah, see if you can buy a partial or something. Dupes are not the way.
I think they're teasing us now. Habit Rouge.
No.
Modern Habit Rouge, what they're selling now, it's gorgeous. What I consider a masterpiece. See, now we're getting technical. Modern today, I would probably say no.
Yeah.
Drakkar Noir.
Oh, fuck off. See, I don't particularly like Drakkar Noir. I've got it sitting right here, front and center of my thing. Is it a masterpiece? Possibly. Possibly, you know. It could be. I'm going to go yes, even though I don't particularly like it. I'm going to say Drakkar Noir is a masterpiece, even though I don't particularly like it.
I like that. That's good. I like that you can step out of your own shoes and look at something more objectively. Jit, we already did. Emilio says Habit Rouge is. That's a tough one, you know, because knowing what vintage was compared to today, it's an amazing perfume.
Bob Ono found a vintage bottle of Habit Rouge. I imagine it's absolutely perfect for where he lives as well.
Oh, man, this is damn good. It is an excellent.
It is excellent, but I don't think it's a masterpiece. It is absolutely excellent, but I don't think it's a masterpiece.
It is amazing. This is a tough one. This has been the toughest one for me so far. Yeah, it's as close as you can get without maybe being
being one. Yeah, this is fun.
So Le Male a masterpiece, and he considers it a masterpiece. I'm glad, you know, somebody.
There's Le Male. Le Male's a tough one because I really don't like Le Male. I really don't like Le Male, but is it a masterpiece?
Maybe vintage, but not today. Whatever they're selling today is fucking glass cleaner. It's not Le Male it's not the Le Male that I know. No.
Yeah. Here's one for you. Caron pour un homme. Do you think that's a masterpiece?
It's damn good. Is it a masterpiece?
One old vintage here.
I don't have a vintage. I have today's.
Yeah, they're very similar. I mean, it's not a complicated fragrance, but it's nice and clean. This is what your granddad wears, but like in a good way. The one in the shops, Le Male, is shit. Yeah, it's a shame. This is something that happens. Something that happens with perfumes.
Caron pour un homme.
Caron pour un homme.
Did you answer?
Do I think it's a masterpiece? No.
let me reevaluate it. I've got a bottle right here.
God, the lavender and it's lovely, but I just don't think it's a masterpiece. I think it's Page of Styles is causing trouble with his H24 is a masterpiece. It is not a masterpiece, Page, as you know it's not. Stop being like that.
I don't know. Maybe it's missing this. It's really good. It's really good.
It is lavender and vanilla.
Yeah,
but to me, it's very
good.
It's very basic. Yeah.
That's the thing. Maybe it's missing that one spark.
Yeah. If there was like a bergamot at the top, or if there was like like a lime, you know, like if it would smell a lot like Bois de Portugal. I think Bois de Portugal. But for me, Bois de Portugal and Green Irish Tweed will never be topped by Creed. Bois de Portugal. Sorry?
Would you consider Bois de Portugal a masterpiece?
It depends who made it. It depends who. If it was Pierre Bourdon and he'd made that, it would give it extra credence. Yes, I would say Bois de Portugal is a masterpiece.
Okay. I think it's my favorite Creed as well.
Oh, it's absolutely stunning.
Rive Gauche.
It's an outrageously good perfume.
Let's move on.
Rive Gauche. Which one? The men's or the women's?
Let's call it vintage tin can.
The men's or the women's?
Let's call it the men's because it's majority men watching here.
Is it a masterpiece? No. No. Sorry, no, it's not. It's good. It's very good. Yeah. It's not that.
I'm going to say no either, just because it's too synthetic for me. By the fireplace. I'm going to guess this is a joke. Santos. I think Santos is a masterpiece.
Yes, we need to smell the vintage. It's absolutely sensational. It's a different fragrance to the one that you've smelled.
Who, me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine is pretty old and it's amazing. Enough for me to consider it brilliant. Chypre Palatin.
No.
Wow.
No. Not for me, no.
Why not?
I don't really care for Chypres. And I think there are better Chypres than Chypre Palatin. So no.
Okay. I love
that. Yeah.
I prefer this to Invasion Barbarian. These are the two biggest hits from MDCI, and I prefer this like miles over Invasion Barbarian, where it's not even close. Is it a masterpiece? Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to answer this.
It's tough, isn't it? Because you go to say yes, and then you think to yourself, oh, is it? Yeah. And then you're like, oh, fuck.
Saying no to Habit Rouge, it's like you're saying, like, wait, am I going to regret saying that? But
yes.
No, like, what am I doing? I'm painting myself into a corner right now. Both of us are.
Yes, that's right.
I feel like, you don't want to overuse it or abuse. You don't want to abuse the word. I'm going to put that on the fence, almost like Bellamy Vetiver. But Vol de Nuit, I'm going to say yes.
Right.
Are you familiar with Vol de Nuit?
I'm not, no.
Okay. Declaration EDT.
Yes.
Yes, I agree too.
Even though I don't like Cumin, the build of it, the build of the EDT is sensational. Like the way he made it, it's fantastic. I don't like. I necessarily wouldn't wear the new one, but the old ones, yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliantly made.
Antaeus.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though it's very similar to Koros, yes, I would say it was a brilliant move.
What's up, Jonathan? What's up, Eva?
Evo.
Well, I don't know. Feminine. Did we answer that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it is. Feminine Dubois. Yes.
I think this is an absolutely atrocious perfume. Rose 31. One of the absolute worsts I've ever come across. Overhyped. For me,
Yeah,
anyway, not worthy. Ombre Sultan.
I don't think Ambra Sultan. I've said I think Ambra Sultan's a masterpiece. I think that mid to late 90s run that Sheldrake went on with Serge Luton was absolutely outstanding.
I'm going to put it on the fence with Chypre Peloton and Bellamy Vetiver. What else? I saw Kouros somewhere.
Kouros is definitely a masterpiece.
I would agree. Kouros is a masterpiece, even though I don't want to wear it or smell like it every day. Not a Cavoy.
Yeah.
No, it's
Behave. Behave yourself, Sam.
But I do believe. Did Luca give this a 5-star or a 4-star?
Oh my god!
He gave it a very high rating, but it's not for me. Acqua da Parma Colonia. I'm going to say
that's a good shout.
I'm not.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm not a fan of Acqua Parma.
The original Colonia, I'd say yes.
Yeah. Okay. Azzaro pour Homme.
Ooh.
And I don't know the vintage, but even the modern, I love what it does. So if I can only imagine what the vintage does, I would probably say yes. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say yeah.
I'm imagining saying yes to this because I'm imagining smelling it, even though I've never smelt it. Queer Beluga. No. Eau Sauvage Parfum.
Oof. No.
It's pretty damn good, though.
It's pretty damn good, though. No, he's right.
Acqua di Gio.
Oh my god, yes. Yes, you can't deny it. It's the biggest perfume ever. It's Albert,
though.
I think it is. It created the aquatic.
Yeah, you can
created the
you can make
you can make the argument. Yeah.
The argument. For me personally, is it a masterpiece? Oh damn. You know, I know I value the reference, and I do like the original Acqua di Gio. I have a lot of memories attached to it. I'm going to say no. For reference,
that's
for personal
outrageous.
For personal use, I'm going to say no.
That's probably the most controversial call, that, you know, because if you think about it, Acqua di Gio's like the biggest perfume ever.
I get it. No, I know where you.
No, I understand why you would say. I would understand why you would say no, but
referentially, I would say yes. For my own personal use, no.
What else we got?
I feel like we're being trolled in a lot of these, so I'm just going to bypass them.
Oh, we're finished.
Yeah, looks like we're done.
Okay.
How about CK Obsession Vintage? Are you familiar with that one?
Yes.
I would say it's a masterpiece.
I wouldn't say it was a masterpiece, but I would say there is CK1 might be a masterpiece.
Not CK1 Obsession.
Not CK1 Obsession. Just CK1.
CK1. Okay. What about not Obsession though?
Not Obsession though.
Interlude Man?
Nah.
No. Not even close. All right, guys. Thanks for watching so much. Rich, thanks for coming on. Always appreciate you.
Thank you for having us. Absolutely appreciate you having us again. Thank you very much.
Had a blast. Thank you, Galen, if you're still watching. Thanks for coming on. Thank you, everybody in the comments for coming on. Smash that love button before you drop out. And we'll see you again. I don't know. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see. Maybe we'll surprise you. Actually, we will surprise you. Don't expect us. We'll see you when you see it. See ya. Thanks, everybody.
See you later.
Have a good week.
Ta-ra.
Bye for now.